Good morning. The September 22nd Board of Directors meeting is called to order. First, I'd like to ask our interpreter to explain how to access interpretation. Good morning. I'm going to ask our interpreter to explain our interpretation process. Please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is an announcement from the interpreter. To use the interpretation feature, please scroll to the bottom of the Zoom screen where the meeting controls are. Click on the interpretation icon, the world, and select English as your language. If you are joining through the Zoom mobile app, cell phone, tablet, etc., please press the ellipsis, then the interpretation, and then choose your language. Finally, click on mute original audio to not hear the original Spanish flow in the background. Headsets are available for interpretation. If you are in the meeting room, please check out a headset from the receptionist in the lobby. Hola, ¿qué tal a todos? Bienvenidos. Este es un aviso por parte del intérprete. Para hacer uso del servicio de interpretación, por favor, desplazarse a la parte inferior de la pantalla de Zoom donde aparecen los controles. Haga clic en el icono de interpretación, globo terráqueo, y seleccione Spanish, español. Si está utilizando la aplicación móvil de Zoom, celular, tableta, etcétera, presione los puntos suspensivos, luego interpretación y luego el idioma. Si no desea escuchar el audio original en inglés en el fondo, por favor, seleccione Mute Original Audio, silenciar audio original. Contamos con auriculares disponibles para el servicio de interpretación. Si se encuentra en la sala de reunión, favor de pedir auriculares con la recepcionista del vestíbulo.
Thank you. So today is actually California Native American Day, which celebrates the distinctive culture of the Native American people indigenous to California and calls attention to the triumphs and struggles that comprise the rich history. Many tribal leaders from our region are in Sacramento taking part in related meetings and events. For those who are joining us here today, I'd like to start this meeting with a tribal acknowledgement. So I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the land that we call home. The tribal nations in the San Diego region has historically faced injustices. We acknowledge the harmony that existed between the land, nature, and its original peoples who have since endured displacement, persecution, and systemic oppression. We pay our respects to the unceded territory and homelands of the 18 tribal nations in our region, the most in any county in the United States, from our cultural groups, the Kumeyaay, the Guiño, the Luiseño, the Cupeño, and the Cahuilla. This land has nourished, healed, protected, and embraced them for many generations in a relationship of balance and harmony. As members of SANDAG community, we acknowledge this legacy. We aspire to learn from indigenous traditional knowledge and experiences in undoing the injustices of the past. I also want to recognize we are celebrating National Hispanic Heritage Month from September 15th to October 15th. Our two celebrations today remind us we have much to learn and much to change to eliminate disparities and ensure that safe, healthy, accessible, and inclusive opportunities are available for everyone. And that's specifically from our commitment to social equity. So now please stand and join me on the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Madam Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Good morning. The City of Carlsbad is absent. City of Chula Vista, Councilmember Andrea Cardenas. Present. City of Coronado, Councilmember Duncan is absent. Oh, there he is. Thank you. County of San Diego, Chairwoman Vargas.
Is present.
County of San Diego, Supervisor Anderson is absent. City of Del Mar, Councilmember Gasterland. Present. City of El Cajon, Mayor Wells.
Here.
City of Encinitas, Mayor Kranz.
Here.
City of Escondido, Councilmember Marasco.
Here.
City of Imperial Beach, Councilmember Fisher.
Fisher present.
City of La Mesa, Councilmember Shu.
Here.
City of Lemon Grove, Mayor Pro Tem Gastil.
I'm right here.
He is virtual this morning, and I will confirm his ability to be virtual after we call roll. City of National City, Vice Mayor Molina is absent. City of Oceanside, Deputy Mayor Kime. City of Poway, Councilmember Frank. Here. City of San Diego, Councilmember Campillo is absent. City of San Diego, Councilmember Moreno. Present. City of San Marcos, Mayor Jones.
Jones here, and Carlsbad texted me and said she's via Zoom. So I don't know.
We will promote her once we see her
Thanks.
on Zoom. Thank you, Mayor. City of Santee, Councilmember McNellis.
Present and accounted for.
City of Solana Beach, Second Vice Chair Hebner is absent. County of San Diego Supervisor Anderson is now present. City of Vista, Councilmember Melendez.
Present.
Caltrans Deputy Director Fox.
Here.
MTS Deputy Mayor Leyva Gonzalez.
Leyva Gonzalez here.
North County Transit District, Councilmember Contreras.
Contreras present.
Imperial County Supervisor Escobar is absent. USDOD is absent. Oh, Anna Shepherd is present. Port of San Diego is absent. San Diego County Water Authority, Mel Katz.
Here.
And San Diego County Regional Airport Authority, in for Gil Cabrera, I'm not sure of your name, I apologize.
James Sly.
James Sly. In Mexico, Council General Gutierrez, present. And County Tribal Chairman's Association, Chairwoman Pinto is absent. That concludes the roll call and confirms a quorum.
Thank you. With that, let's begin today's meeting with non-agenda public comment. This is for the public and member non-agenda comments. For our board policy, the amount of time allowed for each verbal public comment is determined based on the number of agenda items, the complexity of those items, and the number of persons anticipated to offer comment. This allows us to hear from as many people as possible and to complete our business while we still at quorum. Based on those factors for today's meeting, each member of the public will be allowed 1 minute for their comments. Let's go to non-agenda public comments now. Madam Clerk.
So Chair, if I may interrupt, we do have 2 members who are seeking to participate virtually at this time. Could we allow them to go on the record with the stated cause for their participation?
Yes.
Thank you.
So we have 2 virtual board members today. I will call on each of you to respond to certain questions. Both Councilmember Melanie Burkholder and Mayor Pro Tem George Castile. Councilmember Burkholder with Carlsbad, Mayor Pro Tem Castile with Lemon Grove. If you could each state your general factual reason for your remote participation in the meeting without disclosing any specific medical conditions, please. Councilmember Burkholder.
Yes, thank you very much. I am out of state caring for a family member.
And Mayor Pro Tem Castile.
Thank you. I'm home, not feeling well.
I will now ask Deputy Counsel Amberlynn Deaton to confirm.
Oh, thank you. Yes, the stated grounds appear to qualify as just cause for remote participation under the Brown Act. Thank you, Chair.
And just for clarification, at the Board of Supervisors, people have to acknowledge that there's no one there that's under 18. Did that happen?
Correct.
Can you make sure you read that for the record?
Yes, I will now confirm that both do qualify for just cause participation, and both, I can ask you please to keep your videos on for the entire meeting and your audio when you are speaking. And I need you each to confirm that no one 18 or older is in the room with you during this meeting. And if so, state their name and reason for being there.
There's no one here in the room with me.
Thank you.
I'm at home. There are other people in the house, but I'm the only person in this room.
Thank you. If that does change, Mayor Pro Tem Castile, could you please let us announce that at that time?
Okay.
And with remote members participating in the meeting, all votes will be taken on a roll call basis. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you. With that, we're going to go ahead and take public comment.
Thank you. At this time, we take 5 non-agenda public commenters. I have 4 public comments in the room, and I will take 1 virtual public commenter. The first hand raised was Alex Wong. The remaining 4, Mark Kennedy, Alex C., remaining three, and the original draw will be taken at the end of the meeting. Michael Brendo, please come to the podium.
This is a teaching moment.
I want to just say thank you to our CEO, Hassan Akrada, for all of his good work. I know that my 154,000 constituents in my district, but also in the entire city of San Diego, know that the leaps and bounds we've made since he joined us in 2018 are remarkable. I know that my 154,000 constituents in my district, but also in the entire city of San Diego know,
This is an example of why people do not trust these groups. Raul Campillo is lying. I guarantee you, if I were to walk around District 7 or the city of San Diego and ask people, do you know what SANDAG is? Do you know who Hassan Akrada is? Do you know who Nora Vargas is? I guarantee you, most people have no clue what goes on here. And this is an example of setting a precedence that says, I cannot be trusted.
Our next public speaker, Mary Davis, please come to the podium.
Hi, good morning, directors. Mary Davis here with a few things. First of all, clerk, thank you for your great roll call today and your diligence in the teleconferencing. I also appreciate that you do state the names of the people that are absent. This prevents ableism for those participating virtually or with disabilities. Also, the executive committee, that did not happen, and I'm asking that all policy committees that you state who was supposed to be there. When you say the South Bay representative didn't show up, we still are left to wonder who was supposed to fill that. I'm also asking, because in the name of transparency, that you would indicate, create an attendance dashboard. We taxpayers have a right to know who is showing up to do the job and how often they are. And clerk, again, I did appreciate you putting into the record those who did arrive late so we would know they were in the room. Lastly, I am asking you to do an expenditure dashboard. You're about to embark on a huge campaign, billions of dollars. We should know on a monthly basis what the expenditures are for all of your expenses, and update us on the director.
Your time has expired. Our next speaker, Truth, please come to the podium.
Hey, it's Truth, and I'm here for my 1 minute mania. I went to one of the regional plan workshops. I even got interviewed by KUSI. And thank you, taxpayers, for the delicious tacos and horchata and this swag. But I still did not sell out for price parking or toll lanes. But you know what a SANDAG rep said would help public transit go faster? Having less bus stops and have it go less places. So helpful. In case anyone's still unsure of what's going on at the top of the SANDAG pyramid scheme,
we're using some sustainable development goals that are basically defined by the United Nations. Humanity has opened the gates of hell.
SANDAG's on a tolled highway to hell, all right. Here's an idea. I don't think the seating for reps should be assigned. There's some people who don't need to be sitting next to each other and others who would benefit from getting to know new people. Now here's my info on the new auditor, Courtney Ruby. Career politician, CFO for the Association of Bay Area Governments, and Deputy CFO for the Democratic National Committee. No bias. Here we go.
It's not to start theories and conspiracies. I don't like the way you're going.
Your time has expired. Our next commenter, Dr. Tim Bilash, please come to the podium.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Timothy Bilash. I live up in the Del Mar area, a resident watching the cliffs near the Pacific Ocean fall into the water. I just wanted to alert the board members that 2 days ago, I sent a communication to the audit committee and primarily about the role of the independent auditor and auditing in an organization like SANDAG and the apparent restructuring of SANDAG. I just wanted to alert board members to that. If you're interested, please look for it. Thank you.
Our next and last public speaker in non-agenda public comments is Alex Wong. The remaining names, Mark Kennedy, Alan C., the original draw, and Thomas McCarter. You will be called at the end of the meeting. Alex, please go ahead.
Good morning, SANDAG. I am Alex Wong, a data researcher with RIDE-ST. I enthusiastically support SANDAG's South Leg automated people mover, which will provide 2-minute frequencies and a 1-seat ride between the airport and downtown. It will avoid sharing tracks with existing trolley lines, freeing up trolley drivers and track space that could then be used to increase trolley frequencies in Mission Valley and University City. The APM could easily be expanded past the airport. Tokyo's Yurikamome line serves urban areas entirely outside the airport for 9.1 miles, using the same Mitsubishi APM technology used at Miami Airport. Compared to trolley trains, APM trains better accommodate airport passengers with luggage with level boarding and wider aisles. Finally, in order to deliver the South Leg APM as fast and cost-effectively as possible, SANDAG must build the APM elevated rather than tunneled. San Diego already has America's busiest light rail system. Let's now build America's most frequent, most convenient airport rail link.
Thank you. That concludes the public comments at this time.
All right, thank you so much. So I was going to have Bill come and talk about the how to use the technical stuff, but we're going to do everything is going to be voted on by roll call, correct?
Yes.
Yes, we will also have the members present use their clickers to vote. So we'll have both roll call and clicker votes.
Okay, so why don't we go ahead and have Bill just remind everybody how this works, since we've had a lot of challenges with that. And it's to make sure to double check that everything's working.
Sure. Good morning, board. I'm Bill Paris, the director of IT for SANDAG. So we just wanted to take a moment to remind you of the function of the voting and presentation speaker systems. So the remotes that you have at the dais are multifunction, and so they switch back and forth, essentially being reprogrammed from speaker remote to voting device as the board moves through your business. The button 0, the blue button on the remote, that's strictly for speaking. So if you push it once, it puts you on the speaker list, and if you push it again, it removes you from the speaker list. What we're seeing happening is folks are getting very passionate about speaking, and they're clicking it more than once. So you're putting yourself on and then taking yourself off the speaking list. The following that, the voting system uses the same remote, and so they're not the same. Although the remote's multifunction, the applications are different, and so as when the board chair calls for the vote, our staff in the background moves the function of the remote programming from speaker to voting. If you're still clicking because you passionately would like to speak, or if you start to try to vote before the vote tally comes up, or the chair has called for the vote, what's happening is you're not being registered to vote, or your vote's not going into the voting system. It's hitting the speaker system, and it's making some funny comments on the back end of the speaker server. So if our advice is just a refresher on that button 0 is strictly for speaking. So click it once to get you on there, and then just be patient until the list pops up. And secondly, that the voting buttons are, vote buttons 1, 2, and 3 on the remote, and that clicking 0 during voting doesn't do anything. It doesn't register a vote, and it doesn't put you on the speaker list. So our advice would just be to kind of remember that. We've printed out some cheat sheet cards that I believe are sitting at the dais now, and to just pay attention to the board chair. And so when you guys call for the vote and you shift over there, just remember that we're changing the programming of the remotes on the fly. And so that being passionate at that moment, you might want to reserve it for your open comments. So thank you very much, board chair.
Thank you. Mayor?
Yes, so one question about this. When I just pressed to speak and I was asked to speak, given the floor, I appreciate that. When I press 0, it says that it's been received, and then I've got that, graphic rolling across there. It says added to the queue, but there have been times that added to queue and received goes away. And so, and I haven't touched it. And so am I to mean that something happened in the internet or something that caused it to go away and I should push it again, or what does that mean?
The message should stay up there that you're in the speaker queue.
Right.
Now, when it has flipped over, that probably means that a vote has been called. and that we've started to move the system over to the vote roll call, to the vote call.
But people are speaking and then I look at the thing and it's gone. So I think there's a glitch occasionally but I just wanted to confirm that in fact that added to queue is supposed to stay there the whole time. So
It should be up on, yes, it should
Okay,
be
thank
up on there. Mhm.
All right, and then I think the other one is just, let's give each other some grace, and if something happens and I don't see you or something, just raise your hand. There's no conspiracy here, I just want to make sure that we all have a process and we get it done. So, yes, sir.
Madam
See,
Chair,
like right now, supervisor didn't use the little dot thing, but go ahead, sir.
I hit the blue dot, but.
And it didn't work.
I was so eager, I hit it twice.
That's what
Yeah.
happened.
Is it possible to program that on the board that we have a list of people who are queued up? So the chair doesn't have to worry and we all can see, and that way if you switch over, we know that we don't have to freak out. Is that something that we could potentially do technologically wise? moving forward?
Potentially, yes. So we are evaluating the system and functionality for enhancements going forward, and we can take a look at that.
Because that would remove a lot of conspiracy thoughts.
Sure.
Thank you.
We'll see what we can do. Thank you.
So for me, the only confusing thing on the remote is the blue 0 tab. It's not a button. So when you started your presentation today, you mentioned if you want to speak, push the blue button. But if you push the blue tab, as Supervisor Anderson just illustrated, nothing happens. So you need to push the zero button above it, which is the gray 0 button.
Zero,
So
sorry about
don't ever push the blue button. That was the only confusion, which blue tab. That's the only confusion I've
Push
ever
the
had
number
with the
0.
remote. So
Sir,
thank
are
you.
you an attorney?
If you push the blue button, I'll tell you.
We're good? Everybody good? Okay. All right, with that, thank you, Bill, for that. I appreciate it. Do we have any non-agenda member comments at this time? Click your 0 button. Going once, going twice. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am, sorry.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just want to share some information about the second of two 56-hour weekend closures going through downtown San Diego on Interstate 5 at 163, where we are doing bridge deck repairs. Over the past month, we've been removing and replacing the older bridge deck concrete. Our first long weekend closure happened a couple weeks ago in the southbound direction. We'll essentially be doing the same, but now moving to the northbound direction. And that will be happening over the weekend of September 29th through October 2nd. There are a few things that we'll be doing differently with this closure because northbound traffic volumes tend to be lower on the weekend. We will not be doing a full closure and moving people completely off of I-5. We will work to maintain at least one northbound lane open always. This closure, like I mentioned, will begin Friday evening, the September 29th at 9 p.m. and looking to end on or before Monday morning at 5 a.m. and that's October 2nd. Again, as with the first weekend closure, that these closure times have been chosen with input from the mayor's office, the airport, local hospitals, and convention center to work to avoid, all the activities we have going on, whether it's baseball games, major events, and of course, major construction that's happening at the airport. We will also be using this closure as an opportunity to clean, maintain, and inspect those hard to reach areas along our highways there. And again, although we're not fully detouring people off of I-5, we are asking that San Diegans and our visitors to use transit to get in and around downtown San Diego. If you do need to drive, however, use northbound Interstate 15, Interstate 805, kind of those ancillary highways to avoid any traffic delays through downtown. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, Imperial County, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Very quick question. I travel Interstate 8, both east and west, quite a bit. That is the major thoroughfare connecting Imperial County to San Diego County. And now that we're on this specific topic, if I could ask a quick question, an update on Interstate 8 specifically going east. There's been construction there for the past, I'm going to guess 18 to 24 months. If it's okay with the chair, we can get an update on that because I do get a lot of questions, even though technically it is in San Diego County.
So are you referring to that work kind of within the Pine Valley area, the Alpine?
Let's say within between Boulevard and then heading west. I'm sorry, between Pine Valley and then heading east toward Boulevard in San Diego County.
So that work is continuing. I don't have an update on how long that work may be going on, but I think that's something that's some information that we could get to.
I'll take it offline.
Yeah. I'm happy to make sure that, you all connect and go from there. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. All right. With that, we're going to go to Hassan's report, our director.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Good morning, board members. I want to share the Chairwoman's sentiment in celebrating both Hispanic Heritage Month and Native American Day. I appreciate her coming to speak to the staff here on both of those occasions. Last week, we hosted the annual Diamond Award ceremony. We recognized about 118 employers in our region that did some work towards sustainable communities. Over the last year, these employers together reduced about 844,000 vehicle mile travel. Congratulations to all of our Diamond Award winners. I would like to congratulate also SANDAG employees and project partner at the City of Encinitas and FACT for be recognized at the Circulate San Diego Momentum Awards. The Alpartar pedestrian undercrossing won the State Streets and Vision Zero Award. FACT and SANDAG won the Public Transit Connectivity Award, and SANDAG Senior Regional Planner Marissa Morgan won the Public Transit Connectivity Award. Congratulations, Marissa. Good news in Otay Mesa 2 project. Happy to report that the governor last couple of weeks signed AB 427. This is about the delivery method of the project. It's the same delivery method that we use for the mid-coast. It's going to save time and money for the project. As I said earlier, many times, Otay Mesa 2 is an important project for the country, for the state, and for the region of its entirety. Our team will be visiting community planning group next month to talk about the airport connection. As you heard from our staff last time, we're getting very close to start the environmental work. So we finally connect San Diego International Airport to rail. I believe we have amazing alternatives presented to you. And one of those alternatives will be a preferred project that allow us to move into environmental very shortly. We will be hosting a series of public workshop about Lausanne and moving the track of the bluff. We said this many times. You can fight nature, but nature will win at the end of the day. We need to move the track of the bluff. We were happy to receive significant amount of funding to start this process, and we're starting, and it's important to outreach to the community the work that we're going to be doing. Next week, we'll host our last of our current Syrians community workshop about the 2025 Regional Transportation Plan. We will also be visiting Tijuana to talk to our Mexican partners in Baja California. And we would like all of you to participate as much as possible in the development of the 2025 regional transportation plan because it's an important blueprint for the region. I ask you all to celebrate October 4th, the California Clear Air Day. Do whatever it takes to promote clean air for San Diego. Chairwoman, that concludes my report.
Thank you. I also wanted to share a couple of updates. The first one is thank you to the Fronterizo group who invited me to speak on Hispanic Heritage Month. It was a fabulous luncheon. So I appreciate all the work that they do. And I know it was done during their lunchtime. So thank you, Hector and team, for all the work that you do. And then the other update that I wanted to share is that I know that there's been a lot of interest in the plans for filling the CEO position. And several members have already asked and approached me to see their interest in the ad hoc committee. And so because this is such an important role, I want to make sure that this is something that we do together and that we conduct a national search. I've asked Pam Derby from CPS HR, who just wrapped up the successful recruitment for independent performance auditor position, to assist the board in this effort. And we have added a discussion item to our October 13th agenda board to discuss process, including community and stakeholder engagement and opportunities. And that'll be the time and place for the whole board to be engaged and participate in that process. So I anticipate that recruitment activities will start next month, and our goal will be to select a candidate early next year so we can start that process sooner. And so I'm really looking forward to discussing this further on the 13th. I think we have a really great opportunity to all have a voice at the table in this process. And then I also mentioned that we are working, I did this last time at the last meeting, but I'm trying to get a meeting with HCD Director, Gustavo Velasquez. We're hoping to finalize the date soon and look forward to talking with him about our ideas for IHNA reform. And so those are my items. The next item is the consent agenda. No, I understand. So the way the agenda works is that we have the member comments, and then we have the comments from Hassan and myself, and then we continue on to the consent agenda. So I can go ahead and I'll take you, go ahead.
Okay. I just had a comment on Hassan's, on our executive director's remark. So thank you very much for highlighting the Del Mar bluff and its fragility. And I wanted to remind the board that one of the things that people in Del Mar are asking for consideration and study, or simply clarification, depending on how far it goes, is a fairgrounds tunnel, the train tracks under the fairgrounds. That's what we're thinking and asking, can it happen? How? It may mean trenching deeper in Solana Beach. What are the trade-offs? And let's work together.
Mayor.
Thank you, Chair. Mine was on the consent calendar. I have two items that I'd like to pull. Sorry, it said consent.
Calendar, I'm going to ask our clerk to provide us with public comment.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Prior to public comments on the consent agenda, I would like to state for the record that Vice Mayor Molina with City of National City is now present, as is our second vice chair with City of Solana Beach, second vice chair Huebner, and Imperial County Supervisor Escobar are all present. And I understand that Councilmember Campillo is running a little late, but he also will be here shortly. I want to also remind public commenters on the consent agenda that we take your comments for the entire consent agenda, all items from 2 through 8 at one time. So please keep that in mind when your name is called. Our first speaker on the consent agenda is Office of Senator Steve Padilla. Please come to the podium.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and Board. My name is Jesse Schmitty, and I'm here to speak on behalf of State Senator Steve Padilla. SANDAG solicited transformative and innovative concepts in 2021 through the request for innovative concepts to meet the needs of the RTP. In January 2023, the cross-border trolley concept was selected by SANDAG to advance to the project development phase. We would like to see this project included in the 2025 RTP, enabling SANDAG to work closely with partner agencies in the US and Mexico to plan, design, and finance this project in the next 5 to 10 years. The project meets key consideration, goals, and objectives of the RTP. Without additional port of entry enhancements, the estimated US and Mexico economic loss will continue to grow to over $5 billion and a loss of more than 97,000 jobs by 2025. The binational transit extension complements regional investments in Otay Mesa East Port of Entry, Blue Line Extension, and South Bay to Serrano CMCP. BTX is critically important to the region, especially for the over 100,000 American citizens. Thank you.
Our next speaker on the consent agenda, Truth, please come to the podium.
Item 3, it was fun talking to the audit committee. Item 4, the APCD refuses to install air purifiers everywhere, but they expect us to reimagine our lives. And there's no diesel death zone, but there is a reality death zone often heard at government meetings. And who cares what the American Lung Association says? They're propped up by big pharma and founded by racist eugenicists like Sigurd Adolphus Knopf. Item 5, Democrats, Biden doesn't care about San Diego, and no debt dollars are coming because they're all going to Ukraine. Item 6, AB 1248 says all agencies must follow the Treadway Commission, which doesn't seem to have any legal jurisdiction. Item 7, Hassan lunches cost the taxpayers $1,256 in 3 months. Hassan even had to eat Mexican food 2 times. All of these SANDAG meetings have cost the taxpayers about $3,900. It's a lot of catering. Anthony Laxina's SANDAG purchase card had several unauthorized recurring monthly charges. And item 8, $370 million for HOV lanes, toll systems, and extended unfulfilled promises. And they want $1.4 billion more. No.
Your time expired. Our next public commenter, Nicholas Paul, please come to the podium.
Good morning, all. My name is Nicolas Paul. I am an air quality advocate with the Environmental Health Coalition and member of the AB 617 Port Site Steering Group, working in the neighborhoods of Barrio Logan, National City, to reduce air pollution in our communities. I wanted to come today very quickly to express our general support of Councilmember Shu's resolution. We believe that we should be elevating the health impacts of air pollution in our disproportionately impacted neighborhoods. Neighborhoods like Barrio Logan have some of the most polluted air in the state of California. There are census tracts in Barrio Logan that rank higher in diesel particulate matter pollution than 99% of census tracts in the state. 74% or 84% of the cancer risk in that neighborhood is attributed to diesel particulate matter, which again is through the transportation sector. When thinking about regional plans, we should be elevating the health impacts.
Your time expired. Our next public commenter, Mary Davis, please come to the podium.
Hi, Mary Davis here. I'm here to ask for equity for East County. You had prioritized the 125-905 connector for economic reasons, and I'm asking for health impact. I'm very happy to see this resolution and to bring this project to fruition so that those cars are no longer idling on the Spring Street ramp. I'd also like to highlight another health concern, though, that is flying under the radar and needs to come to light. During my public records request, I learned that the groundwater table is not only higher than expected, but also contaminated. I have yet to hear back for more details about this, but La Masons and area residents deserve to know not only about the composition, but also not only the level, but also the composition of that contamination and its source. Where is it coming from? I'm also asking the media to up their game and to look into this, quit focusing on fluff and trivialities and pay attention to the things that really matter, the health of our community. Thank you.
Our next public commenter, Thomas Perez Vargas, please come to the podium.
Good morning. My name is Tomas Perez Vargas. I'm one of the many business persons that live in Chula Vista and does business in and with Mexico. I am a board member of the Tijuana Development Council, a private organization that seeks and promotes projects to enhance the quality of life in the Tijuana metropolitan area. We believe the Binational Transit Extension Project has many benefits to the border region, including help to reduce the increasing number of cars driving to Tijuana and returning to San Diego every day, help reduce CO2 emissions at the border crossing area, increase cross-border mobility for everyone, not only car owners, opens the opportunity to improve security to the U.S.-Mexican border crossing. And this is why we would respectfully request to consider the Binational Transit Extension Project as part of the 2025 Regional Transportation Plan. Not doing it at this time will make it harder to implement a much-needed project that contributes to the 5 big moves become a reality.
Your time has expired. Our next commenter, Timothy Bilash, please come to the podium. You will be followed by Michael Brando.
Good morning, Board. This is in reference to item 6. Thank you for taking these public comments. I am one of the few publics that actually attends audit committee meetings, I think. I don't see many people there, so I thought it would be useful to make a comment, and I thank the committee for their hard work. I don't think people outside understand how difficult it is. I have tried to understand numbers from the accounting out of SANDAG, and particularly the need for auditing that apparently has come up. And I am unclear just how much money was spent on tracking down the procurement and contracts issues over the past 2 years, which I've seen as a distraction from the work of SANDAG. I believe that this has been a very expensive undertaking, and the reports generated tend to be disaggregated, difficult for me to understand.
Your time has expired.
Thank you.
Michael Brando, please come to the podium, and you will be followed by Mark.
And speaking about number 4, how about equity for truth? It's really laughable that some people in here can propose to talk about health. I see this is promoted by Jack Shu. At the last meeting, I remember hearing Jack Shu say that the most dangerous thing a person can do is drive in a car alone. Now, I'm not planning or intending to mock you, but when one knows the higher things that are going on about getting people out of their cars, incentivizing them to not drive, and then so you turn around and talk about health, it's absolutely laughable. And yes, there are conspiracies going on that are related to this, Joel and Nora. And this item says that we're concerned about things that affect the heart and lung. Again, SANDAG has no business talking about this. As many of you, I suspect, I haven't researched each one of you, probably promoted the bioweapon serum injection in your hometowns and in your city councils. Talk about health, safe and effective, not.
Mark, please come to the podium. You will be followed by Consuelo.
Mark, SANDAG is a treasonous organization. They're supported by the UN and the World Economic Forum. Rosa Corey, who was an expert court witness in California, they probably aren't showing us on camera, so people can't see this, but I'll name some YouTube titles you need to see. Rosa Corey, watch it from 6 minutes, 40 seconds for about 15 minutes. Rosa Corey, part 1, we'll bring it up. Koire is how her last name is spelled. You need to see Zeitgeist Addendum, full 3 documentary. Social Pathology, Peter Joseph. You can start that at, Rosa Corey started at 3 minutes, 30 seconds. Zeitgeist started at 6 minutes, 40 seconds. The Corporation Nation, the U.S. is not a country, 2020 remastered. You need to see that. And Goodbye American Sovereignty, Hello USMCA. This organization is literally just destroying our country's sovereignty. I've got 4 seconds left. They're taking control of your ability to drive freely where you want.
Your time expired. Consuelo, please come to the podium. You will be followed by a first virtual speaker, Alan C.
SANDAG is supposed to be for street planning, not urban planning. Hundreds of billions of dollars are spent every year to control the people's minds. Who's really to blame? After all, there are over 7 billion of us and just a handful of them. Who pulls the triggers? Who drops the bombs? Who pays the taxes? Who borrows the loans? Who buys the myths? Who shuns his neighbor? Who looks the other way? Who sits around waiting for someone else to fix it all? Take a close look in the mirror. Normal isn't coming back. So get off your knees, because I assure you that what they have planned is far worse than anything they've already done. What we allow will simply continue. The time is now. UN agenda.
Our first virtual public speaker, Ellen C. Please go ahead. You'll be followed by Abe Froman.
Morning, just a mic check. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Clerk. Concerning Tijuana sewage, it's not just Tijuana, it's multiple sewage plants in Mexico dumping raw sewage. I said to look at your inbox. I sent an email out with an EPA report that proves this. Yet you're spending millions of dollars for the old Thai Mesa crossing, but you won't close a border to the commerce. If you close, every day our beach should close. If you close the border to commerce, guaranteed Mexico will jump through hoops and fix their sewage plants, because the EPA report shows it's not just Tijuana, it's multiple sewage plants down the coast. Ocean Courage sends it up our way. So Imperial Beach Mayor, knock it off and start having some guts and call out Mexico. Not shut the border to commuters, but shut the border to commerce. I guarantee you Mexico will immediately fix a sewage problem that's been going on for decades. I yield back.
Our next commenter, Abe Froman. You'll be followed by Blair Beekman. Abe, go ahead.
Yes, to tax us out of our vehicles is tyrannical. There's a big push for electronic vehicles, which actually do not emit once they are created, but they emit emissions before they are, because it takes a lot of coal energy, it takes a lot of gasoline to excavate all these minerals out of the earth. You're going to decimate working families. You're going to decimate the truckers that bring us our goods that we need. And to tax us, to monitor our whereabouts, you control our movements, essentially. And this is wrong. This is not the United States of America. This is the CCP that is behind this. So think about what you're doing. We are losing our country, and to add tax, we just got taxed for more water. Okay, what else are you going to do? We need help, and this is not the way to go about it. Thank you.
Our next speaker, Blair Beekman. You will be followed by Dennis Smith. Blair, please go ahead.
Hi, Blair Beekman. To quickly comment, there are major serious issues of sewer issues on the U.S. side that if we look into, like the San Diego pipe, we can solve our problems on this side pretty well. To comment on the chairman's report, in Tijuana at this time, they're really building up housing, developing housing. Good luck on how to teach the ideas of mixed income if they don't already know these ideas. It can really help the future of housing in Tijuana, I think, and a massive growth of housing they're doing right now. And to conclude about the trans-border trolley issues, a really good luck in this project in talking about the future of biometric camera use. It's a concept we need to learn to speak more openly about and to have a more understandable conversation about, and that can be open and publicly accessible and understandable. Good luck in that concept. Thank you.
Our next commenter, Dennis Smith, who will be followed by the original draw. Dennis, go ahead.
Am I unmuted?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to mention or suggest possibly creating a third lane, getting off of the 805 southbound onto the Imperial Avenue off-ramp right there. The majority of the cars that get off right there goes to the left toward Lincoln High School, and other parts where a lot of cars too are trying to go to the right. And that traffic backs up from Imperial all the way down the 805 back around to 94 and past the 15. And the reason why it's so passionate to me is I had a brother who was killed in between the Market off-ramp and the Imperial on-ramp. And traffic is always congested right there by the Jackie Robinson YMCA. There's plenty of shoulder to the right there. If someone can evaluate that and possibly consider putting in a new lane, that'll free up congestion. Thank you.
Our next speaker, the original draw, will be followed by B. Miller. Please go ahead.
So I just really feel like we're wasting all of this sewage that's coming into the ocean and whatnot. I mean, Nora, I feel like you could go talk to some of your friends in Mexico and see if they'll, maybe we could create just like a pipeline that comes here, because why are we wasting all of that sewer water? That is pure, clean water that we could be giving back to people. I just feel like it's really wasteful on our part to not do that. And it would be very easy to do. I mean, and there's enough of it. And that way we can profit off of it as well as we're, raising rates for water. I mean, it's really important not to let all of these things go to waste, because that would be negligent and wasteful, right? I mean, that would be just one of the stupidest things we could do. So I think we need to start an initiative to really go in there and either do this piping or whatnot, or we could just hire, human labor like children or something like that to collect it and sift it and get it going down the line. So I think you guys need to look into that. This is being very wasteful.
Your time expired. Our next speaker, B. Miller, and will be followed by the final speaker, Alejandro Mir Iteran. B, please go ahead. You are self-muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good morning, Chair Vargas and board members. My name is B. Miller with San Diego 350. I'm speaking today in support of resolution number 2024-04. Health-related goals and impacts should absolutely be considered when developing the 2025 regional plan. Our communities are being impacted by pollution created by freeway traffic, including coastal communities. The guidance created by this resolution will benefit the entire San Diego County region. Thank you. I yield back.
Our final speaker on this item, Alejandro Mir Iteran. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. My name is Alejandra Mieri-Teran. I'm the Executive Director for the Otay Mesa Chamber of Commerce. I'm here to advocate for two projects to be included in the RTP because they both tackle border wait times and do a great deal to reduce pollution, as well as advance equity goals. The first one you are very familiar with, the cross-border trolley extension, which is in the development phase at SANDAG. This project enhances cross-border mobility for the most vulnerable population. The second you may not be that familiar with is a pilot program that SANDAG is beginning to develop a reservation system at the cargo port in Calexico. This is extremely relevant for our region because if successful, we could implement it in Otay Mesa, and that would mean 4,300 trucks would not be idling on the border every single day. This is one of the few projects that tackles pollution and enhances supply chains. Thank you very much.
That concludes the public comments on the consent agenda.
Thank you. So we have a couple of member comments. Vice Chair.
I'd like to move approval of consent.
Second.
Excuse me, Chair. I had pushed my thing telling you that I wanted to pull some items.
I'm just going through the list.
Okay.
Okay. Councilmember Moreno.
I would like to just make comments on item 4 and 5. I don't need to pull any of the items.
Okay.
For item 4, I'd like to thank Transportation Committee Chair Jack Hsu for bringing this resolution forward. Healthy communities and environmental justice must be at the forefront of the 2025 regional plan, and I enthusiastically support this resolution. Now on item 5, the Tijuana River Valley crisis, this is a very personal issue for me and also for most of the South Bay. I live in San Isidro, less than a mile away from the Tijuana River Valley, and I can tell you that it's not just a water quality issue. This is an air crisis as well. In addition to losing access to the beach in the South Bay for almost 2 years straight, the communities I represent are facing an even greater challenge, and that's the foul smell of sewage every morning and evening. The sewage flow in the river and through the canyons can be smelled in homes that are miles away. Even when we shut our windows and doors, you could still smell the sewage. The health impacts of this air pollution are currently unknown, but the quality of life impacts are there for all to see. It's hard for me to think of a more crippling environmental impact to a community than a horrific odor that makes normal life very impossible. The good news is that we have identified solutions, but the bad news is
left-wing political party in Italy, launched in Rome on June 21st.
But the bad news is that the federal government has failed to pay for them. On June 9th of this year, the Environmental Protection Agency and the International Boundary and Water Commission identified 10 projects that would solve this problem. If these projects were completed, South Bay residents can swim at the beach and breathe nice air in their neighborhoods. So why aren't these projects moving forward? The answer is simple. The federal government is not funding them. Much has been made of the $350 million that have been appropriated, but it's less often mentioned that a full solution would require somewhere about $1.5 billion. $1.5 billion sounds like a lot of money, but in terms of the federal budget, which was $6.7 trillion last year, it's a small amount. It's a rounding error. The cross-border pollution in the Tijuana River Valley is the biggest environmental emergency in the United States right now, but the state of California and the federal government are not acting like it. The failure of the state and federal government to declare a state of emergency is just the beginning. I think the biggest failure right now is Congress. Congress is failing to appropriate enough money to build these projects. Now, without additional funding, 8 out of the 10 projects identified cannot be completed. The San Diego border region feels completely ignored by the United States Congress. I think if it smelled like sewage on Capitol Hill, you'd see them appropriating the necessary funding in record time. But there's no funding to complete all 10 required projects. So I would invite any congressperson to come down to the Valley or to my house and smell what my constituents, what my neighbors, what federal employees such as Navy SEALs and Customs and Border Protection officers all have to smell every day. One whiff should be enough to convince them that we need to fully fund the solution to this environmental crisis. Now, I want to take this opportunity to thank Chair Vargas for her leadership in bringing this resolution forward, and I'm very proud to support it. So thank you.
Thank you. And I want to give credit where it's due because it was the council member from Imperial Beach, Jack Fisher, who actually, him and I had been talking about it, as well as the mayor and council member Mark. Everybody from Imperial Beach everybody is, this is a top priority, and it's a top priority for me as well. And it's important to elevate this issue. And I really think that this is an opportune time, particularly because this is a regional issue and the impact that it has on our communities and the businesses and the communities of Coronado as well. It's something that, I often share with folks. I started working on this issue in 1993 when I was a staffer for the local congressman. And it's infuriating that it's something that we are still fighting for. And $300 million is not enough. We have to make sure that we rehabilitate the plant. And there wasn't any funding for the plant to continue to be operational. And it's really hard. I was in a community meeting the day before yesterday, and it's hard to be in a community meeting having to say to folks, we're working on it, we're fighting, we're sending letters, we're doing everything that we can. The funding that has been allocated for these dollars now, right, are allocated specifically for certain initiatives and projects. And we're trying to make some changes at the county. We've declared a public health care crisis. But I think the more of us that do this together, the more attention we're going to get from the federal government, and once and for all, get the resources that we need for this community. And I will also mention that working closely with our counterparts in Imperial County and trying to identify initiatives so that we can actually look at all the rivers on the border side and the role that our entities play on that as well. So appreciate that. And then I also want to thank Councilmember Xu for your resolution as somebody who serves on CARB and on APCD with so many of you. I think it's so important that we don't forget the long-term implications of every public policy decision that we make, especially in this body. So I appreciate that. Mayor?
Thank you so much, Chair. I'd like to pull items number 4 and 7.
Okay, so
4 and 7, yes.
Does that have to be a substitute motion?
Well, I had let you know ahead of time that I wanted to pull.
No, I know,
some
but
items.
she didn't
Okay.
know. So that makes sense.
Sure, happy to amend the motion, and I'll move that we approve consent with those items pulled as stated by Mayor Jones.
So,
And do we have a second still?
yeah, well, I seconded it.
Oh, you did? I didn't hear you.
Okay, so we're good. So we're gonna go ahead and take the first, I don't see any other comments. Nobody else need to press 0? Right, we're good? Okay, so we are going to take the first vote on the consent items minus item number 4 and item number 7. Tessa, I think we're going to go ahead and call the roll, but you also use your apparatus, whatever it's called.
City of Carlsbad, Councilmember Burkholder.
Yes, Carlsbad.
City of Chula Vista, Councilmember Cardenas.
We have to do both.
Both, okay. Yes. Thank you. City of Coronado, Councilmember Duncan.
Yes.
County of San Diego, Chairwoman Vargas.
Yes.
City of Del Mar, Councilmember Gasterland.
Yes.
City of El Cajon, Mayor Wells. City of Encinitas, Mayor Kranz.
Yes.
City of Escondido, Councilmember Marasco.
Abstain.
City of Imperial Beach, Councilmember Fisher.
Yes.
City of La Mesa, Councilmember Xu.
Yes.
City of Lemon Grove, Mayor Pro Tem Gastil.
Yes.
City of National City, Vice Mayor Molina.
Yes.
City of Oceanside, Deputy Mayor Kime. City of Poway, Councilmember Frank.
Yes.
City of San Diego, Councilmember Campillo.
Yes.
City of San Marcos, Mayor Jones.
Jones, yes.
City of Santee, Councilmember McNellis.
Aye.
City of Solana Beach, Second Vice Chair Hebner.
Yes.
City of Vista, Councilmember Melendez.
Yes.
That concludes the roll call vote.
Okay, the next item is.
We need Councilmember Marasco. There you go. Thank you. And that motion passes with 1 abstention.
Okay. All right, the first item that was pulled is item number 4, the 2025 Regional Plan Health Impacts.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, on this item, I was reading through it, and then I found there was item number 3 on the second page. It says that we would support goals 1 through 6 of the APCD a community emissions reduction plan. So after reading through that 250-page document, I found the 6 items that we were saying that we were supporting. And goal number 2 is medium and heavy duty trucks servicing portside communities to be 100% zero emission 5 years ahead of the California state requirements. And that got me to thinking, who are some of the emission vehicles that would be affected by this? So I was having a conversation with Keith Blackburn from Carlsbad, and I said to him, I'm pretty sure that portside community would be Republic. I happen to have EDCO, and I said, could you get me in contact with someone over there to see if they would be able to meet this 5-year early reduction? And I spoke to Stephen Herring from Republic Services, and he was able to send me this email. He said, Republic Services is proud to be a leader in fleet electrification and has ambitious plans to bring EV hauling trucks to the San Diego market as soon as Q4 of 2023. Currently, there is no other hauler in the region starting their EV transition. We are well on our way to transitioning to EVs, but one thing we want to make clear is EV routes are not equal. Heavy trash routes, routes with long windshield time, and low density routes do not currently fit into the current capabilities of what is available today. Changes will occur as technology improvement occurs, and we have detailed plans to electrify our entire fleet across San Diego and San Diego County, and will meet the already established California goals for fleet electrification. Changes to that plan would be difficult to guarantee, especially without knowing the full depth of the route detail and how that fits into current technologies. So I am very uncomfortable with us as a governmental agency supporting something that we are making a goal for folks that they can't even meet. I don't think that it's prudent. I think that this is very irresponsible if we do pass this, for the simple fact that I only checked with literally one company. I mean, there are a lot of these 6 goals. In this 250-page document, I'm doubting most of you probably read this. But if you did, I don't know how many other companies that this would affect that cannot meet those goals. And so therefore, I cannot support this particular resolution for the simple fact that there are a lot of unknown things that we don't even know. And I've only heard from one that I happen to check with, and they are saying that they don't believe that they can guarantee that that would be something that they would be able to do 5 years early over the state mandates.
Understood. So as somebody who represents these communities and the number of people who have not only died, have high rates of asthma, people who are very sick, Barrio Logan, San Isidro. And the reason why I so proudly serve on the Air Resources Board and on CARB is because if we don't push for these goals to be attained, our communities are going to continue to suffer. And it's not the other communities in other areas. It's really the underserved, underrepresented populations that for decades have been impacted by the pollution, the contamination, and industry. And to be clear, I have been working very closely with industry for the last couple of years to make sure that they are transitioning and bringing down grants from CARB. We have done it with Dole. We are doing it with our Portside community by bringing a lot of money to make sure that this happens. And so I think the more we create these opportunities to identify goals that are going to have positive long-term health impacts on our communities, I think the better we are as a community. But you have of course, you're right to have a different perspective. Let's see. Councilmember Moreno?
I wanted to respond to that if I could.
You don't have to. It's fine.
No, I'd like to. Thank you. But I'll wait until after.
Councilmember Moreno?
My hand wasn't raised.
Oh, I thought it was you. Oh, yes. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We all have seen, as we've lowered pollution for the region, every community's benefited from it, and some have been hit harder than others. And when you're thinking in terms of taking a step in the right direction, absolutely we should be doing it. But when I look at this, one of the concerns I have is people lose heart when we make ambitious goals that we can't meet. My wife drives an electric car, and last summer, she was told she couldn't charge it for 2 weeks because we didn't have the power grid to support it. I fear that we're going to make all those lives worse off by getting ahead of ourselves. And I get it's the political season and everybody wants to take advantage of it, but we can't defy gravity. And there are physics in life that we can't overcome. And if it's for grandstanding purposes, why are we setting such a lowly goal? Why don't we say, effective noon today, everything has to be elective? Well, we don't say that because it's not possible. And we don't want to say crazy things. We want to be reasonable with our approach. If we want to say that's our goal moving forward, But industry, when you work with them and you keep changing the goalposts, it makes their stockholders nervous. They don't have the capital funds to do the things necessary to get us where we want to go. I want to be supportive. I know in my own personal community of Alpine, when I moved there 35 years ago, you couldn't run around the block because your lungs would burn because of the pollution. And yet we rarely have a day that you can't run because the air is much cleaner. So we understand that these purposes are good. They're good for all our communities, and some are suffering more than others. However, when we defy gravity, we send the wrong signal. And for those reasons, although I doubt that this vote's going to get to a supermajority vote, a weighted vote, so I won't be able to vote, if I do be given an opportunity, I support lofty goals, but they can't defy gravity. So for that reason, I don't think that this is a good move moving forward.
Councilmember Chu.
Thank you, Chair. Well, Mayor Jones, I am very impressed that you've done your due diligence in terms of looking into this resolution, as well as contacting the actual industry that serves those communities or are located in those communities in this particular part of the resolution. Well, there's 2 points I would like to make. One is that it is a lofty goal. When I first saw these goals from the SERP, I thought that's going to be hard. But technically, Supervisor Anderson, it is doable. Those trucks exist now. They're being produced now. I've seen ads for them. Those trucks do exist. And what better community to have those trucks going through those areas where people live and work than these communities have been affected so greatly. We just have to prioritize it and make it happen. So I think one, technically it's already available now. So it's just a matter of making it happen and making it a priority. And we can make it sooner by incentivizing that through a number of ways, so that fewer people have to go to the hospital, fewer children have to go to the hospital, and we'll have fewer cancer deaths. If I include those costs, the medical costs, it would pay for this right away. If those truckers had to pay for the medical costs, they would be changing to electric trucks right away. So, but when that's not part of this resolution. Second of all, this is a part of the APCD SERP. I'm a vice chair on the APCD. It is a document that already exists. These are lofty goals that indeed actually SANDAG already work collaboratively with the Port Commission and APCD in developing these with these portside communities with special state legislation. So therefore, it's already a plan. If there already a plan exists for these goals, our next regional plan has to at least take note of that and make alternatives to meet those plans or help support them. That's state law through CEQA. So whether we like it or not, actually we have to do this anyway. But I want to make it very clear that we prioritize it and give our staff that kind of direction through this policy statement. So yes, Mayor Jones, it is a lofty goal. I agree with you wholeheartedly. But you know, we wouldn't have made it to the moon if we tried to do something that was impossible at the time. In this case, it is possible.
Thank you. I appreciate the comments of everybody, Mayor Jones, Supervisor Anderson. I actually am going to vote for it because to me, it's not a mandate that we're, legislating that this has to happen. It's merely a statement that we'll take it into consideration and try to support reaching the goals. If it was a mandate that it absolutely was a legislative change that they had to comply, I would vote against it. But because it may not, be possible. But when I look at SANDAG and a lot of the things we do, I try to look at what is the things we can do or support that may actually have an effect on the communities. And directly, as I can see the effect, the more the better. The air quality in Coronado is within this impacted area on the CalEnviro screen maps. And I think it's appropriate to try to reduce these impacts and say that's what we're going to just take into consideration. As you may note at the end of the resolution, it states this isn't mandatory or take away any power from SANDAG on this issue for the future. It's just a support and a consideration to try to reduce the diesel pollution. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Corina.
I just want to thank Councilmember Shu for bringing this forward. I, represent North County Transit District here, third alternate, so I don't get to come and visit you all here too often in this capacity. And I don't have the ability to vote on this, but I do have the ability to vocalize my support. North County Transit District has committed to moving towards zero emissions. A lot of different agencies have committed to moving towards zero emissions and are, in fact, procuring the necessary vehicles to do that. Prior to being an elected official, I was working in the construction industry. And believe it or not, even back then, those big machines were moving towards becoming electrified. I want people, when they talk about others suffering, to just eliminate the word suffering and say dying, because folks in our community are dying because they have been suffering for generations from air pollution. Now we know that even the tires are causing a ton of pollution, and we have the ability to move forward and say, yes, these are lofty goals, but we need to keep health at the forefront of our communities. It is absolutely necessary. And I think, something that was said that is key is prioritization. When you look at Cal Enviro Screen and you look at the census tracts that are most polluted, it is no surprise that when you look at the history of redlining, that those are the same communities that were disinvested from the beginning and not allowed different opportunities. So this is a step in the right direction to correct generations of history that has been against these folks just because of where they live. So maybe in North County, we don't have as many of these census tracts as they do down here that are in extreme pollution, but we should all be considerate of the fact that we have an opportunity to make right by history. So I think you should take that opportunity today. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Jones?
Thank you so much, Chair. San Marcos was either the first or second city that signed on to the Live Well initiative through the County of San Diego. Health is very important to me. This is not what I'm talking about. And I think that when we hear from a company that is expected to meet this goal, and goals, by the way, let's just be pretty clear, goals are the first step to a mandate. They always end up being a mandate. It's the first step to it. So when I hear, when I take my time to actually do my homework, and thank you very much for saying that, Mr. Shu, I think it's very important for us to get educated on what we're voting for, make sure that we're following up on things. And I can tell you, I was kind of nervous, kind of going back and forth. I wasn't sure if I was actually going to be able to get the verbiage from Republic. But when they're telling me that they're well on their way, they're doing their best, they want to do it, they have every intention of actually meeting this goal 5 years earlier than the state mandate, I have to take that very seriously. I think they mean business, but to make it a goal that in writing we support is us supporting what I believe will become a mandate at some point in time. I just don't feel comfortable with that. I think that when we're making any sort of decision here at SANDAG, it needs to be an informed decision, and it needs to be a goal that is not just something that we know is not going to be met. When we set our climate action plans, it shouldn't be something that we wish could happen. It should be something that we know we can work hard at and it can actually happen. And so for that reason, I cannot support this. I do care about people's health. As I said, and I actually had childhood, I grew up as a poor kid in El Cajon, but I had a lot of health issues, including asthma. So I I just feel that when we are talking about making a goal for any that is unachievable, this is the first step to a mandate, and I just don't want to have any part of that.
Fine. Okay, Mayor Walsh?
I'd just like to set the record straight. When we talk about air pollution getting worse and asthma rates getting worse, that's just not true. Since the Clean Air Act in 1970, emissions from cars has reduced by 95%. So our air is significantly cleaner. According to the American Lung Association, asthma rates since 1999 have gone down 41%. So to paint this picture that we're living in a horrible smog-ridden area where people are dying from the emissions of cars is just not true. I think facts matter. More importantly, in regard to this idea, we are on the verge of having a collapse of our transportation infrastructure system that delivers all of our food. And if you want to see a society fall apart, you make sure that we have no food on the shelves. America has been used to having an abundant food supply for all of our lives. But around most places in the world, food is a very difficult thing to get. Food scarcity causes significant problems in society. So I think we have to weigh these lofty goals against what the unintended consequences might be, which could be very dire for our society. So I'll be voting no.
Thanks, Chair. I appreciate the comments from my colleagues here. And, you look back to what was referenced about the smog in 1970s LA, and we've all seen those pictures, the heavy set, where you think, do we see those often? No, but do they exist? They do. From time to time, they do pop their heads up. And, I am sure at that time in the 70s, there was a board much like our own sitting around having these conversations, some very strong opinions, some very strong feelings on both sides of the card. However, there are conversations where, well, how can we make smog checks happen? Make sure the vehicles aren't gross polluters. How are we going to get the big three automakers to change what they do? Talk about a lofty goal. Can you imagine what it would take for them? And again, I'm sure there was dollars behind it because California has probably more drivers than most states. So, I think it's important that we do have lofty goals. Now, they have to be realistic. I agree. But I think that as an entity and as a regional board, we have to think a little bit more so of the future, not for us, perhaps for our kids, our grandkids as they come. But it's a responsibility to have. And, I don't want to be the person who said no, that I don't think healthy, clean environments and community is important. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. For me, this is a no-brainer. With Interstate 5 running through our city, with the Low Sand Corridor running through our city, it's just something that I think is really important that we focus on as we develop the 2025 RTP. The diesel particulate matter is an issue in our city, and it was one of the reasons why, as chair of the NCTD Board of Directors, I focused on replacing the Tier 1 polluting locomotives with Tier 4, and look forward to the electrification of those locomotives. In the end, the notion that just saying that we support the goals of another agency would make it impossible to support this resolution, to me, is just an indicator of where politics has gone nowadays. It's unfortunate that we can't all embrace what's being stated by supporting this resolution. So with that, I would move approval of this item.
I'll second that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. We have a couple of more members for discussion. Yeah, I'm up. Everybody.
My second to Jack.
All right, so we'll give the second to the council member. I have a couple of people on the queue. I think people have, if you already have spoken, I think we have a tight agenda, so I'm gonna try to ask you to keep your comments as tight as you can, please. Council Member Duncan.
Thank you. For me, for instance, Mayor Jones, when you mentioned that company, the Republic, and that they're trying to do it within 5 years, to me, something like this resolution and us just looking at our staff potentially considering the issue when coming up with pilot programs or things, to me, this just means, hey, maybe there'll be something where maybe we can help a company like that actually do it. Like, I do hear the thing about a slippery slope and worrying that this gets mandated on them possibly by the state or something, and it's not obtainable. But for me, the fact that we may have some pilot programs or we may take into consideration how to reduce the diesel particulate matter is not a bad thing. So I'll still be voting for it, though I do think it would be a simpler and a better policy if it just had number 1 in it, because I think number 1 covers everything that we really are trying to do. But in any event, those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember?
Yes, thank you. I see this as an important priority. What worries me in this resolution is making the clean air a higher priority on top of other priorities. You know, there's some really strong top priorities that we have. And I want to remark that for the past 2 days, I've been out in the desert for a departmental retreat at the university. And Hurricane Hillary stirred up so much dust. The air is full of dust. As you go over the mountains, you cannot see the horizon anymore. And it's been that way for more than a month. The clean air is such a problem in our area in so many ways, but to lift it above the other priorities worries me. Clean air affects us all. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember McNellis? McNellis? Did I pronounce your name right, sir?
McNellis.
McNellis.
Thank you. I heard it said that, saw an ad for these types of vehicles, and so they should be able to be produced. I've seen lots of ads for flying vehicles, but that doesn't make them financially feasible. That's just the reality. The state has already set mandates that industry as a whole are trying to address, and that is what's going to happen. They will meet those goals, but to point out one municipality, one area over another makes industry want to leave that area and do business in the areas where they can meet mandates. So things like this, stating things like this and continually stating things like this it's just not reasonable. Another reason, it's like I said, it's another reason for businesses to stop doing business in the area. This, as to Supervisor Anderson's point, this is grandstanding. This is just saying, hey, we're gonna do this because we're better than California. We're San Diego, we're better and we're stronger and we really mean it. But what we really need to do is be mindful of the practical realities of life and be honest with those that we represent and not say things that are beyond reason. For that reason, I will be voting in opposition to this.
Okay. Councilmember Chu, and I'm gonna go ahead and call the.
Sure, I'll make my comments real brief, and I really don't need an answer to the points I'm going to be making. First of all, electrification of trucks have been shown to be economically beneficial. It's just that the time it takes for the cost, the initial investment to generate is just a bit longer, and that's why many businesses avoid doing that. But we have the capacity, the technology is already available. We just have to incentivize it. For these companies that convert to electric vehicles, in the long run, they will save money, not cost more money. The American Lung Association still gives our region a failing grade. I'm glad we made a lot of progress throughout the state and throughout the country in making our air cleaner, but we're still failing. And lastly, when my child, I had 3 children, 2 of them had bad asthma. And when I take them into the hospital in emergency because they can't get enough air, it's not a goal to get them better. It's a mandate. So Mayor Jones, when does the health of somebody, of a child, of a senior suffering from cancer or asthma become a goal versus a mandate?
Okay, with that, we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
City of Carlsbad, Councilmember Burkholder.
Carlsbad, no.
City of Chula Vista, Councilmember Cardenas.
Chula Vista, aye.
City of Coronado, Councilmember Duncan.
Aye.
County of San Diego, Chairwoman Vargas.
Vargas, yes.
City of Del Mar, Councilmember Gasterlin.
Yes.
City of El Cajon, Mayor Wells.
already did public
We
comments,
already
sir.
called public comments for consent
Go ahead and
agenda.
continue with the vote.
Mayor Wells, City of El Cajon.
No.
City of Encinitas, Mayor Kranz.
Yes.
City of Escondido, Councilmember Marasco.
No.
City of IB, Councilmember Fisher.
Imperial Beach, yes.
City of La Mesa, Councilmember Shu.
Aye.
City of Lemon Grove, Mayor Pro Tem Gastel.
Aye.
City of National City, Vice Mayor Molina.
Yes.
City of Oceanside, Deputy Mayor Kime. City of Poway, Councilmember Frank.
No.
City of San Diego, Councilmember Campillo.
Yes.
City of San Marcos, Mayor Jones.
Jones, no.
City of Santee, Councilmember McNellis.
Nay.
City of Solana Beach, Second Vice Chair Hebner.
Yes.
City of Vista, Councilmember Melendez.
Yes.
And that item passes with 5 noes and the remainder yeses.
All right, and for the record, it's Chairwoman Vargas, not Nora. The other item on the agenda is item number 7. I'm sorry?
My apologies,
All right,
yes,
so
6 noes.
I want to make sure we're going through this process. We have a clerk and I'm leading the meeting. So if we can go ahead and stay on track, I would really appreciate it. The next item on the agenda is item number 7. Mayor?
Yes, thank you. On item number 7, I did want to make a couple of notes and then I also have a request. So on the contract acceptance, I do have a question. On the supplements, are the supplements the actual total cost of that? Where it says the contract value is $5,675,000, for instance, on the first one, $724,76. Is that the original amount or the revised amount? That I'm unclear of.
Who on staff could respond to that? Please.
The Director of Construction, Sharon Humphreys.
Can you state your name for the record, please?
Good morning, Sharon Humphreys. I'm the Director of Engineering and Construction. It's my understanding that those are the revised amounts.
Okay, the revised amounts. And at our last meeting, I had actually asked the initial cost of the Mid-Coast. There are several agenda items on here for the Mid-Coast specifically. When I said initial, that means the original cost when we first had it in the regional transportation plan. I'm still awaiting that answer to that. So I don't have to have that answer right now because I don't want to put you on the spot, but I would like that sent out to the entire board, the initial cost when it became part of the regional transportation plan, and then how much we have spent to date on all of the revisions and change orders.
So just Supervisor Vargas, we will be sending to the board and to you, Mayor Jones, the requested information on the Mid-Coast. There is historical information that we put together, sent to you, but this is not going to change the facts about the Mid-Coast. But there's a lot of information that staff will put together. I will send it to all these board members and yourself.
Yes, and I understand that. And this is an informational item, but the request that I do have for staff is that for transparency, I think we need on page 37, there is an item that has all of the card holders, the P cards. This is specifically on the P cards. And I believe this is April through June 30th. On the P cards, we do have one employee that has in excess of $12,000 with several unauthorized recurring monthly charges. And then the cardholder is addressing these recurring charges. So I would like an update on that, but specifically on page 37, we have bulk items. So there's a value of the transactions and then there's a number of transactions. I think, for instance, like Tessa, our clerk. It says here like board and employee travel, for instance, it says 13 different transactions with a total of $9,000. I think for transparency, what I would like as a board member is to have the itemized transactions as to the employee, where they're going and what exactly we're paying for them. I think, and I'd like to have this go back to at least this period, which was April 1st through June 30th, to have that given to all of the board members so that we have a full understanding where these P card dollars are being spent. And then also on any charges that are happening at all. I mean, I think we have already seen with the audit or the outside independent auditor that we have come into some questionable activity throughout the time that we've been using these charge cards, whether it be a P card or a reimbursement. I think it's important that we do have that transparency and we get that back information and understand what we're actually spending these dollars on.
Yeah, so I don't think there is a problem with asking for transparency and accountability, but I just want to make sure that all staff members who are listening to this understand that there is no one saying at this moment that nothing has been done wrong. And there's just because there's a request for $13,000 doesn't mean that we think that you went to Hawaii with your P card. So I just want to make sure that we put that on the record. No, because the way it sounds, I just want to make sure it's very clear because I think it's really important. Staff are using cards and we have very clear guidelines from the independent auditor. So I think it's a supplement to that, some of the changes, organizational changes that the staff has done. And I think for morale of staff who continuously get hit for, they're not doing enough, I just want to put it on the record that I think it's important to have transparency and accountability, but there's nothing that's happening that is faulty that we're asking this. It's just Mayor Jones asking for additional transparency, totally supported, and I think it's a great idea. So
yeah, and for clarification, Chair, I don't think that our employees are actually doing the traveling. I think the traveling is happening when it says board and employee. I think it's probably more the board. I think it's important for us as elected officials to be accountable as to where we're going, what we're doing for our constituents and our residents.
And my understanding that also goes on Form 700s, right? So that's just so to clarify that any board activity that takes place has to also be included in your Form 700. So there's a double check for that to happen. So with that, are you interested in making a motion?
Yes, I'd make a motion to approve. Thank you.
Fabulous.
I mean, actually, no, I'm sorry. It's an informational item. Chair.
Well, yeah, but it was part of the consent item, so I need to approve it, right? So that's it? Okay, good. All right, then we go. We're done. All right, the next item, any other comments? I don't see any more zeros pressed. All right. Next item on the agenda is item number 9. And so on July 14th, 2023, at the SANDAG Board of Directors meeting, we had a regional plan workshop specifically to address the funding piece of the plan. And this was already a space that our board members had to elevate what they wanted staff to explore. For those of that were not able to raise the issue during that time, you remember that we did a whole exercise around that and we discussed it, right? And the specific issue of the road user charge was not included in that discussion, but I do want to make it very clear that that today's action will once again get us on the record that the board agrees that it is not the time for a regional road user charge in the regional plan. And so I'm happy to make a motion to move this forward.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was making the presentation, Chair.
I didn't know that there was a presentation, but I'm happy. I'm making a motion. Would you like to second?
No, not yet. I'd like to make my comments, to be honest.
Okay, go ahead and put your,
thank you.
Press your name.
Thank you very much.
You have to press your item.
Oh, staff had told me that I was making the presentation and I sent in slides and everything. My apologies. My name's up on the screen.
No, okay. So just for clarification for staff and everyone else, we have a process. We make motions. Once the motions take place, then we have a discussion, motion, second discussion, and then we take a vote. And then we make sure that we have public comment before the vote, right? Got it? All right. Go ahead, Mayor Jones.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Since early this year, I had requested that we bring back the 2025 regional road user charge and that is, to be specific, the regional road user charge. There are two road user charges in our regional plan. I have been trying to get this on the agenda. I sent an email on February 14th, Valentine's Day, asking for this to be agendized, and it had not happened until the last executive committee meeting on September 9th. I brought it up yet again, and then it was agendized, added to this agenda for today. And so I'm very grateful for that. And just to give you some background, and we could actually go to the next. There we go. This is the current road user charge and where it's at. So all along, we have been talking about removing it. Originally, we approved that in December, on December 10th of 2021. In 2021, the very next item on the agenda was to remove the road user charge. Many of us, many of the board members, including myself, were not supportive of the road user charge since the first discussion of it. Anyway, so when the transportation plan was being created, we were never given any alternatives to that road user charge. So, you know, the documents also say in the road user charge, if we can go to the, I think 2 slides from here. Nope, I'm sorry, it's the last one. I have them out of order. My apologies. The regional road user charge can only be used for transit capital projects and active transportation programs, which is bike lanes. So it is not allowable for a highway capital or highway operations or local streets or roads. So not 1 penny of the regional road user charge, we can go back 1 slide, I believe it was, of the $14 million that the 21 plan would be bringing in, $14.2 billion, not million, billion with a B, could be used for any road improvements, even though some of the board members continue to say that it's not correct. It's right there. That's our document, by the way. I can't remember what page, maybe V26 in the funding. But anyway, every county resident in San Diego County expects that we will be getting rid of this. And so I want to be very sure that we are doing this in a way that is legal, making sure that we are not opening ourselves to litigation. But I also want to make sure that we are really doing it and it's a finite sort of decision that we're making. So in the 21 plan, I'm sorry, in the update to the 21 plan, and I actually have that on the first 2 slides, and I'm going to go to it real quick. Hey, sorry. In September 22, this is right from our website, the SANDAG board directed staff to prepare an amendment to the 21 regional plan without the regional road user charge. In developing the amendment, SANDAG has updated the financial strategies used in the 21 regional plan and assessed the region's continued ability to achieve the greenhouse gas emissions target set by the California Air Resources Board, as well as federal air quality standards without the RUC. The proposed amendment was available for public review, and we have been moving along in the process. I've been told by SANDAG staff that we will be seeing this in the second meeting of October to definitively remove this from our 21 update, or our 21 plan, that should say, or I should say. But currently the plan that is at the state of California does have a road user charge in it. Let's be very clear. There's a lot of misinformation out in the public that it is out of the plan, it's gone. It's not out of the plan, it's not gone. So that being said, with respect to the board's direction, I would say that the staff should proceed to process the amendment of the 21 plan to remove the regional road user charge. A draft supplemental was prepared and analyzed at the amendment. It concluded that the plan would continue to meet guidelines and conformance requirements without the regional RUC. As required by CEQA, given the potential for significant impacts, alternatives and mitigation measures were evaluated. Of the 5 alternatives evaluated in the supplemental EIR, 2 did not include the RUC. The draft supplemental EIR concluded that one of these, number 5, was the environmentally superior alternative, as it would decrease impacts for one or more of the significant criteria. The supplemental EIR concluded that both the proposed amendment to the 21 regional plan and alternative 5 would provide funding mechanisms that would further the goals of the 21 plan without the use of the regional rec. Similarly, any environmental analysis of the 25 plan may consider the use of a regional rec in the evaluations or alternatives and/or mitigation measures as required by CEQA. But experience reflects that it is possible, if not likely, that the goals of the 25 plan can be met without the use of the regional road user charge. So I would like to direct staff to bring a concept for the 2025 original plan for the board's consideration that does not include a rec or any per mile fee moving forward. So whether we name it something else, because if we all recall that it was called a VMT, a vehicle miles traveled, then we change it to a regional road user charge, now a rec. Whatever we name that we will not have that as part of our plan as moving forward. And I think that's important also as part to note in our funding. Let me find it real quick. My apologies. I thought I had that right here ready to go. But we have, as part of our legislative part of the funding, let me pull it up on my phone. It actually will probably be the quickest. My apologies, Chair. Thank you for your patience, everyone. This is a complicated thing. I don't want to make it seem like it's too easy. It's not. But anyway, in our funding, it also says that SANDAG is committed to seeking this revenue source through the implementation of action item number 4, included in Appendix B, the implementation actions, which is to pursue legislation or another mechanism to administer a regional road usage charge. So I just do want to make sure that we are not considering, we may need to change our platform, that we would not, our legislative platform, that we would not have this as part of our legislation that we are pursuing, that the state government, either the legislature or, the legislature, either the state Senate or the state assembly would be moving on trying to have a fix for a road user charge legislatively if we indeed do take this action here today. So I will again state my my motion, and that would be, so that's why I was saying I thought
So I already made the motion so that we can go ahead and ask the board of directors to ask the direct staff to bring a concept of the 2025 regional plan that does not include the regional road user charge. You can you can go ahead and second it if you like.
And does not, yes, include any per mile fee moving forward.
Can I do a substitute motion?
So my motion was to not have the regional usage charge. That's the motion, and that's the motion that you second. So you have a substitute motion?
Yes, ma'am. And I want to explain, I've been on the board just for 2023, and as we've been coming across discussions for the road user charge, I think there's a lot of confusion in the public and on the board about, is it out, is it in? And for me, I want clarity, and especially come up to this issue. That's what I've heard. Well, it's taken out. So for today, that's what I really think is important, that all of us take it out and make sure going forward it's very clear. So that's my substitute motion, is that the 2025, we direct staff with the 2025 plan and all subsequent plans, that the environmental documents contain robust alternatives evaluation, including the funding reduction strategy needed to achieve the desired reduction, including alternatives that do not include the regional RUC. Further directing both staff and board members to not pursue any legislation that supports a regional RUC or implementation of a RUC or any other per mile charge. And and it's for the clarity that we are all on the same page.
So I think the concern that I have with your substitute motion is not, absolutely, and I want to make sure I make it very clear. I do not support a road user charge. Is that clear? Because my words continue to get used in different ways. The question that I have for you, sir, is that you said subsequent plans. And so I think it's actually, and I think legal counsel may support me in this or not, but when you are talking about future plans, I'm not comfortable with that because I don't know what the state or federal government is going to require us to do. And we can't overstep state or federal requirements. And so I don't feel comfortable with that, but I want to just ask.
To the extent that the question is about what a future board may or may not be able to do, a
Yeah.
future board could take a different action in the future.
Yeah.
So I'm still comfortable with my motion. I'm concerned with even using the road user charge in CEQA, seeing that it has to go to voters and we can't count on that as a defined funding source. But that's my motion, my substitute motion. Thank you.
Did you strike the last part in subsequent boards?
No, I did not.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't accept the substitute motion.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Now we have discussion. I'm going to go turn it over to the public.
We have our first public comment on item 9, Mary Davis.
There's no second to the substitute motion.
Oh, she seconded?
What?
Substitute motion.
No.
I think.
Oh, okay.
Please go to the podium.
Be paying attention. Yes. Well, yeah, but I have to let public comment speak and then I'm going to have the board members speak, which is what well, they're just letting me know. I didn't see the second, so they just told me. And so I accepted the second. Okay, so we're going to have discussion now from the public. Okay, go ahead, sir.
So I just want to make sure I understand. I'm relatively new to SANDAG. So if we were to take a position today, couldn't it be, as I understand it, a simple majority would unravel it and our course can be changed with a simple majority. It's not saying that anything we do in stone today can't be changed by a future board member. I may not always be in the seat, the next person may. So is that correct? Am I correct in thinking that way? Or if we make this vote, it can never be changed with a future board?
No, a future board would be able to take a different course of action if it chose to.
So if the state changed the law, we could align our strategy with any future state move.
That
Thank
would
you
be
for
one
that.
instance, yes.
All right, so public comment.
Thank you. Our first commenter, Mary Davis, please go ahead.
Hi, Mary Davis here. First, I'm in strong support of this item, and we do need to put a hold on the road charge surveillance system. Secondly, I am also asking this agency to take it further, formally oppose the state road charge in your legislative priorities. The aspirational model for a road charge program is telematics, aka automated tracking, which would create a funding mechanism that integrates systemic surveillance on society. This is antithetical both to the U.S. and the California constitutions. Lastly, I'm asking this body, for each of you, to go to your home chambers and bring forth resolutions opposing a road charge at any level, state, local, or federal. While the chair continues to emphatically state that it's not the right time, that tells me that it is still germinating out there somewhere, and we need to quash that right now. We are in an area surveillance state concerns. You cannot be pro-privacy justice and pro-road charge. They are unequivocally mutually exclusive. Thank you.
Your time expired. Our next speaker on this item, Michael Brando, please come to the podium. You will be followed by Truth.
No to the road user charge, no matter what you call it, no matter what you name it, no matter how you try to fund it. The same thing that goes on here, gaslighting, like this chair does, it's the same thing that goes on at the County Board of Supervisors and the city of San Diego, like with Raul Campillo, as I started the meeting with. No to any road user charges. Someone walked by earlier outside and heard about this and were shocked that people are going to be taxed again somehow, some way, in some kind of language. And the chair, again, is trying to gaslight the people about this. I'm going to take this to a higher altitude. If you don't know what's going on, read this book. It applies to this.
Sir, the item
No,
before you
don't
is the
interrupt me,
regional
Nora.
plan.
You were
have-
interrupting me. This ties
Item
to what
before
we're
you is the
discussing.
regional plan. Please focus on that.
I am focusing on that. You are violating the Brown Act. The psychology of totalitarianism. The psychology of totalitarianism. Matthias Desmond. This ties to what this whole thing is based on. Nora, you are an then.
Thank you. Your time expired. Our next speaker, Truth, you will be followed by Debbie C.
All right, whoever supports a road user charge tax wants my community to suffer and die. My friend Nora, the mayors with good intentions know there should never be a road tax in any plan by representatives of the people. True story. The 2021 regional plan is what first caught my civic engagement attention, but the ban on in-person comment actually discouraged me, and I'm not sure why, because I don't even like public speaking. So I ended up calling in comments to the county instead. Y'all could have met me a lot sooner, but hey, full circle. Now from the SANDAG website, quote, one of the five big moves, the next operating system is a digital platform that collects information from passenger vehicles, delivery trucks, e-bikes, and scooters into a centralized data hub. Travel lanes on complete corridors can be dedicated to different uses at different times of day, end quote. Translation, the regional plan is inherently a tracking system to control road use. That means the only way I can accept a VMT VHT road user charge tax is if it means that none of you will be able to afford to show up to SANDAG meetings ever again, thus eliminating SANDAG, which would solve all of our problems. Thank you.
Thank you. Your time expired. Debbie C., please come to the podium, and our next speaker will be Mark.
Hello, I'm Debbie Cottle. I just want to say to SANDAG, I want changes of your hearts, because San Diegans cannot afford to pay more to drive their vehicles. Again, there are grave privacy concerns, as my sister says, and it's systematically tracking our movements. And number three, I say no to any road charge at any level. And I do not believe in being tethered as an American, being controlled in my driving habits.
Our next commenter, Mark, you will be followed by Consuelo. Mark, please come to the.
Mark, you're obviously not familiar with your job, Nora. The Brown Act 54954.3C states that you cannot prohibit anyone from not only criticizing your programs, policies, or procedures, but omissions thereof. And you don't get to say what an omission is.
Sir, the item
That's why
is
you're
the
admitting.
regional user charge number 9. Please stick
Yes,
to the message.
and in regard, well, no, I'm giving you a warning. And then in regards to this, all totalitarian governments limit movement. This is a limit of movement. It's Hegelian dialectic. It's a common tactic, and it's not real. It's literally made to destabilize our government. Yuri Bezmenov talked about this, demoralization and destabilization of the food chain and such, which Bill was talking about, is very much part of it. It is intentional. There are members here like Hassan that know this and are promoting it openly. That's what I think. And I would say there's ample evidence.
Your time expired.
Yeah.
Our next speaker, Consuelo, you will be followed by Mike, and Mike will then be followed by our first virtual speaker. Consuelo, please go ahead.
Thank you. Let's be real. Yes, Nora, you're correct. People are suffering, and it is because of government. That's the reason why the suffering is happening. Vargas. The real pollution happening is the junk being spewed by these fork-tongued politicians, some who are career politicians, Anderson. SANDAG is being entirely reckless with our county and our hard-earned money. No one in this room has acknowledged the stratospheric aerosol injections. Yes, chemtrails. Why not? Why are you not speaking up about that? If you're also concerned about the air quality, reminder, brothers and sisters, if government can suspend our rights.
Just a reminder,
at
the
any
item
time.
before you is item number 9, 2025 regional
Yeah,
plan,
the
regional word
VMT.
user. Please stick to the item.
The omissions, correct? Like the pollution always out of your mouth? Stop talking. If government can suspend your rights at any time they deem there's a crisis, you don't have rights, you have permissions. Look up Agenda 21 because that is in fact what is happening.
Your time expired. Mike, please come to the podium. You will be followed by our first virtual speaker, Alan C. Please go ahead.
Good morning, members of the board. This is kind of intimidating here, not to mention absolutely asinine, the scheduling of these meetings. I mean, I'm here with my 11-month-old son, and it's an absolute pain in the butt to get down here at this time to discuss more taxes that you guys want to levy on us. It's like you guys get to sit around this $100,000 plus boardroom table and dream up of ways to make our lives more stressful, more difficult, and more expensive. This is absolutely amazing that all you people sit in here and just cheer each other on, give each other pats on the back, gaslight everybody about people dying about this issue or another. And here we are. Hassan and God, you have no idea what it's like to pay bills, earning the money that you've made here at SANDAG. You
Your time expired.
$2.5 million.
Sir, your time has expired. Our next speaker is Alan C.
Zero good for this.
Alan, please go ahead.
Yeah, don't be fooled by Chair Vargas. She sits on the San Diego Air Pollution Board. She has written letters. Look them out your inbox. I've sent it to all the news nationwide. You have actually sent letters to legislate. That's why you call it a road usage charge, so the people can't even vote on it. So don't be fooled, people. They are actually doing this behind your backs. Yeah, she'll say she'll vote for this. But the truth is, you're actually going to go through state CARB to implement a road use tax and punish the taxpayers. We're already being punished at $6 a gallon because you Democrats keep raising the tax automatically every year. That's why car registration has gone up, because you want to punish us to force us to take your empty bus. 2/3 of the bus fare is paid for by the taxpayer. If it was a private business, it'd be an automatic fail. And yet you're trying to punish us more to tax and tax and tax. Look at the donuts behind you. Who delivered that? Gas trucks. Everything needs roads. Even if you go electric cars, they need roads. Now knock this crap off and start looking for the people, because that's where the real health society is. I yield back.
Our next commenter, Gary, please go ahead. You will be followed by Catherine Rhodes.
Good morning, SANDAG members. I would just like to urge everybody to oppose the road user charge now and forever. Never any type of user charge. Thank you for giving me the time to speak, and I yield back.
Our next speaker, Catherine Rhodes. You will be followed by Abe Froman. Catherine, go ahead.
Hello, this is Catherine Rhodes. And first I want to thank Mayor Jones for actually bringing this issue. When I first looked at everything, I didn't understand that there was an additional regional road user charge, and she showed it to me and I was shocked. I didn't know that. And then another thing she did is for the CARB, she looked up and found out that you round up to the nearest integer, and that's why everything can go through. But my main issue here is that I keep on bringing up, since 2019, Hassan promised $350 million from the airport. So far, we've received $0 from the airport. And that's because everybody on the airport board is not doing anything or bringing the issue forward so that we could actually get money to SANDAG for the airport connectivity project, which they should be fully funding 100%. They try to say everybody else is responsible for their mitigation. They're 100% responsible for it. And so far they haven't done anything. Thank you so much.
Our next speaker, Abe Froman, will be followed by Delia Dominguez Cervantes. Abe, please go ahead.
Yes, I'd like for people to stop saying EVs are without emissions. First of all, it takes $500,000 in materials to be dug up by a machine that takes 12 hours of diesel, okay? And to go on a 1,000-pound battery, it takes 100 to 300 barrels of oil to manufacture that battery to hold at least one equivalent of one barrel of oil. Nora, stop using Barrio Logan in your propaganda. You want people to stop having asthma? Take those businesses that emit bad things in the air out of Logan Heights. And you know, Hassan, the last time I rode the trolley is when I saw an elderly man being thrown into the platform at courthouse side by a vagrant, okay? The trolleys are dangerous. Stop trying to tax us, because you know what? You're going to tax me right out of this state, and I was born and raised here. You have my time.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Julia Dominguez Cervantes, who will be followed by Pam. Please go ahead. You are self-muted. I'm going to go on to Pam, and I will bring that speaker back. Pam, please go ahead. Pam, please go ahead. You are unmuted. And we cannot hear you. I will go ahead and move on to the next speaker, the original draw. Please go ahead.
Either way, this is all smoke and mirrors. Everything you're talking about with the climate is totally a lie, and you're manipulating the people into believing we need to do this new way of life. And regardless, the state plan is going to come down, and you know that, Nora, and all of you do. And that's what's so sad is then it's like, well, it's out of my hands, because you could actually stand against it. You act like your hands are tied all the time. Well, whatever they tell us we have to do. You're just used to complying and conforming. You actually don't. You could take your cojones, if you had any, and stand up for the people and say, not today, but you're going to let it go through. And that's why you're going to continue to track and trace everybody, because you still need that data, because you're still going to use that data to go against the people, to push your agenda, which is a globalist agenda that is set out to control everybody. And you guys don't understand that at some point you actually won't have control. So you should do something now while you have some kind of little bit of it, and stand up for the people instead of bending over and just allowing the state and the government to do whatever. But you know what? You're puppets, so that's what you do.
Your time expired. I'm going to go ahead and call on Pam again. If you could please make sure you're unmuted. Go ahead. Pam, I'm not sure that your audio is working. I will go ahead and call on the next speaker, Tyler Collins. Please go ahead.
Yes, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Great. So my name is Tyler Collins, and I'm a Carlsbad resident. So my wife drives every day to Sorrento Valley, and as Californians, we're already hit by some of the highest gas taxes in the nation. I'd like to go ahead and support Rebecca Jones in bringing this to SANDAG's attention, that, we definitely need to make it clear to the public and in any SANDAG plans that we do not support a road usage charge. I understand the need for a county organization to comply with state and national mandates, but as far as within our power, I think we should try and vocalize that we are against any current or future road user charges. I think that's what would be best for San Diegans, and especially for people hard hit by already existing high gas prices because of high taxes. Thank you.
I will call on the next speaker, Josh and Delia Dominguez Cervantes. If you could please raise your hand again, I'll be able to call on you and we can try again. Josh, please go ahead.
Yeah, no, it would be an unequivocal no from me. I mean, it seems like a regressive tax, and I agree with everyone else who's spoke before me. You know, and as someone was going to say, Councilmember Vargas is a demagogue. I just think this is a terrible idea. Surveillance state, limit of free travel. And I'm concerned about how everyone here is framing it. I'd like to see it never come up again, personally. I yield the rest of my time.
I'd like to remind the public that I will take the last 3 public commenters who had their hands raised at the start of this item. And the next is Delia Dominguez Cervantes, who will be followed by Blair Beekman. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you for taking my call. I just wanted to ask the board to please set aside partisan politics. The bottom line is that all blue-collared individuals, your constituents, the people that live here, will have to suffer in one way or another by all these road user tax dollars, whether it's name tax mileage, whatever you want to call it, whether you say that at this time you don't support it, that just means that there's a door to enter at a later time. The bottom line, this affects the very people you say you're representing. The low-income individuals, they're going to be burdened more than the rich folks. We're not rich. The people here work in construction. People here work in hotels, in restaurants. Please, you have to remember your roots.
Your time expired. Our final 2 speakers will be Blair Beekman, followed by the phone number 415. Blair, please go ahead.
Hi, thank you. Blair Beekman here. I'm being bullied a lot in my life. Anything anyone can do to help me with this bullying issue, thank you. With that said, just a thank you for this item. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort to figure this out. I think the chairwoman spoke that she is not in favor of this item. And so that was of interest to me in how I am going to think about this issue. There's many ways to think about issues. We're really trying to consider choices in the future of how to think of pollution and how to save, how to keep our earth green. I'm sorry if this doesn't work for people. I wish all the public commenters in their anger can offer their own constructive ideas, what we can do. I think we really have to address the future of car use in Southern California. They're trying here. It may not be the best solution. As long as we can come up with constructive ideas, that needs to be the most important thing for these meetings. Thank you.
Our final public commenter on this item, phone number 415. Please go ahead. You are self-muted.
Yes, thank you, Rebecca Jones, for bringing this item forward. Yeah, I don't think the road user charge should be included in the plan or any similar charge or tax. SANDAG has pushed this thing again and again and again, giving it various names, what have you, bringing it up constantly, sneaking it into stuff. We're sick of it, and that's why we don't trust you. And, you know, I don't have anything good to say about the road user charge, so yes, please, by all means, cancel it. Get it out of here and don't bring it up again.
Well, that concludes the public commenters on this item.
Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and start with Councilmember Frank.
Thank you. I wanted to make a clarifying point because
I've heard, we don't know what the state and federal government are going to do. That doesn't matter in our discussion right now. We're talking about a regional road user charge. We're talking about something that we as a board would be implementing and burdening San Diego County residents on. Whatever the state or federal government may do is a discussion for another day. And obviously we would have to implement any mandates, but we don't have to choose that ever. I've heard, that this isn't the right time for a road user charge. There is no right time. I think that we should eliminate this from any future RTPs, which is why I've seconded the substitute motion and absolutely refuse to support a road user charge.
Mayor Wells?
I just want to point out that you hear all these speakers, and they're very against this road user charge. I put out a video several months ago about the road user charge. I got 450,000 views on it and hundreds of comments, all negative. The people hate this. And we are elected to represent the people, not to lord over the people. We're the people's servants. And so I think we should remember that when we're voting for something that they absolutely hate.
Councilmember McNellis?
Gotcha. I'm in support of the substitute motion as it clearly states we are opposed, at least at this time, to the road user charge by any name and all names. And I think that is the point that needs to be stated very clearly. So this can't come back at a later time and say, well, I was opposed to the road usage charge, but I'm not opposed to the road user charge or some other name. This makes it very clear. We're all opposed to this. We want it out. And that's why I speak in favor of the substitute motion. Thank you.
Real quick, no ambiguity. We need to have perfect clarity and be absolute in what our position is. No ifs, ands, or buts, no backdoor, no possible changes in the future. That's why I completely support the amendment to the motion with Mr. Keim, and will be voting in that direction.
I would remind everybody that we do currently have a road user charge. You pay it every time you put that nozzle in your gas tank. And so this notion that exploring more equitable ways to pay for the roads seems to me to be, it is important that we look at that. I have the good fortune of not having to drive very far to my work. I walk out my back door to my home office. I drive Prius. My son, on the other hand, is a tradesman. He's HVAC specialist, tin knocker they call him. He drives a lot. He drives a truck, gets terrible gas mileage. He pays an exorbitant road user charge. And so the notion that we can't have a conversation about finding more equitable ways to pay for our road system is really frustrating and disappointing. And the reason there is so much confusion and so many people opposing what Mayor Wells made a video about is that we don't have the proposal in front of us. We don't know what we're going to be presented with. And so while I appreciate the fact that people feel that we would be in some way tracking their movements, maybe there's a way this could be done so that it was an opt-in opportunity. I don't know. The technology, I am not aware what the requirements will be, but in the end, I am all for having an informed conversation about ways to equitably pay for our road system. Those people who are driving Teslas, they don't really contribute much to our road system. So it should be our goal as a board to find a way to make this system of paying for our roads and transportation system more equitable. So I do not support the motion.
Councilmember Fisher.
Thanks, Chair. I think that probably the biggest thing that this board has ever agreed upon is not having the road user charge in any of the plans. However, and Mayor Jones, you made the comment, I've never been given alternatives of this. Well, if we sit back and wait for staff to do everything for us, I think perhaps we may not get very far. They are the professionals, I will state that. They know way more about how this organization works and the responsibilities that we have than I will ever know, and I probably won't ever try to catch up. I don't have that type of time. But I think it's important that we do have some critical solutions to it. In one of our workshop meetings, we talked about when there was board consensus about finding innovative funding sources. Now, I don't know about anybody else, but I hope somebody's brought stuff to staff to talk about these innovative funding sources, because I don't think our constituents are going to ever allow us to have some type of road user charge as it has been described, as it has been explained to this point. So where are we going to go forward? Well, to Mayor Kranz's point, I think we need to have an equitable way to do this. We have to look at, our mission statement, and we do have an equity statement. How do we make it so it's an equity of economics? We oftentimes look at equity based on somebody's location where they live, the color of their skin, their origin of birth. But I think we need to look at this as economics. It's an important part of it. We need to find ways that spread not the burden, but the responsibility on everyone. Mary, you made mention of it with, people who drive Teslas. There's a lot of incentives for people to be in electric vehicles that are put out. However, how far does that go? In my lifetime, I will probably never own a new vehicle, electric, hybrid, or otherwise. It's just not in my economics. And I believe I don't stand alone for other people in this region. They're probably in the same economics. They're just trying to put food on their table, hopefully pay their rent, and not hope that their landlord doesn't raise their rent. It's hard times. Never in my lifetime have I ever felt the economics be this harsh, and for those around me. We live in small cities. Most of them are working class people who are just barely making it. And so we have to really think about that. Can we put the responsibility on them to maintain, upgrade, enhance our roads where the mileage, where the gas taxes will be missing? No, we can't. I will never, ever, ever put that burden on their back because it's not the right place for it to be. And so as we go forward as a board, we have to think about what does the funding source look like? My whole thing and the standard at which I'm going to look at is that everybody pays their fair share, the best that they possibly can. I'm sure, this morning I stopped to grab some quick breakfast and they had a charging station at this grocery store. And it always remained with me. How is it that we have these charging stations where there was a credit card place, so they had to pay for it. But how do we look at maybe that's where we get part of the tax from? Maybe the part that we're missing on the gasoline tax comes from people paying at these pumps. Figure out what it costs for a mile to drive in a gas car and what it costs for an electric vehicle to drive 1 mile, then figure that out. So the baseline of it is, I'm glad that we all agree, no road user charge. It's good to have a board that agrees on that, but I think it's our responsibility and our opportunity to think of ways going forward to help staff, move in a direction that we feel, because remember, ultimately they're going to bring something back to this board, whether it's exactly the same board that we have now or not. We're going to have to approve these things. So why not let us be part of this conversation in creating these innovative funding sources. Thanks.
Councilmember Shu.
Thank you, Chair. I'll try to be brief since I've spoken on this issue before. Mayor Kranz, thank you for pointing out that we do have a road use charge now. It's called a gas tax. We've had it for over 100 years. And we know it's a highly regressive tax. People who are poor are more likely to have cars that don't have as good gas mileage and certainly not have an electric vehicle. So that's a system we have to change. We need a new road use charge, or at least a user charge, to make things more equitable. And the sooner we do it, the better. Our road systems is, extremely costly. Even with the gas tax, as high as it is in California, the highest in the country, we still only recover about 50-some% of the cost of building roads and maintaining them. That means other funds that could be used for education, for healthcare, is supplementing our ability to drive. So yes, I think it's very appropriate that whatever funds we get from drivers in the future can help our transportation system in other areas other than in streets and roads. If you're going to damage the environment, if you're going to pollute, there should be a cost. And right now, we're giving them a supplement. We're supplementing the cost of polluting our environment. So that needs to change. I'm very disappointed because there's so much misinformation out there with regards to road use charges. One is privacy. You know, the issue of privacy and industry not knowing where you are, I've said that in a recent talk, that horse has left the barn a long time ago. Google knows where I am. It can also tell me what restaurant I can go to when I drive someplace. And if you think you can get away with that without having a phone, there's an article in the LA Times that came out recently that says the car manufacturers, they keep track already. They know where you are and what your driving habits are. They're just not telling you because they're using it for commercial purposes. So the privacy issue, I think, can be addressed, as well as other issues with some type of vehicle miles travel charge. And lastly, you know, I try to be responsible on this board, meaning if I propose something, it is something that is good for the entire region. That means if I propose something, that I have a substitute alternative. And I've heard no alternative other than we don't want to be taxed. Well, I don't want to be taxed either. But I know that if I don't get taxed, I may not be able to get the services that I really need and other people need. And I need to come up with an alternative. And if you don't have an alternative, we're just driving towards a really a worse situation. And lastly, I have some questions for our legal staff. So, Ms. Eaton, there were some emails that we just got from legal counsel with regards to having to have a road use tax in our regional plans, particularly in terms of alternatives to meet other legal mandates from CEQA. Can you explain that briefly? I don't want to burden you with too much, but maybe in a few sentences.
I would say that to the extent that the board would take an action that would limit the choice of alternatives or mitigation measures before completing the CEQA review process would potentially be a violation of CEQA. And so to the extent that any action the board takes today to eliminate an alternative, that there may be some significant risk there.
And would one of those alternatives have to meet certain scoping plan goals of 25% VMT reduction by 2030?
So I would say generally our EIR must evaluate whether the regional plan would conflict with any applicable plans, policies, regulations that would relate to GHG or VMT.
And I would just remind this board that the last time this board ignored CEQA ruling after it was advised by attorneys, it cost our region at least $1.7 million in legal payout and another $1 million in dealing with that. So if you want waste and abuse, I think that's where we're headed here if we continue to eliminate options for our plan. Waste and abuse can happen simply because we're not listening to the legal requirements that we're facing, as well as trying to really do what's best for our region. So yes, I don't want to get taxed more, but I want to pay my own way. And I think it's very unfair to have poor people pay more as they are now. So I'll end that my notion, my statements here, and I'll be, of course, voting no on this item.
Councilmember Cardenas?
I just wanted to take a quick moment. I know it's been said many times, but I'm also not in favor of a road user charge because it's not an equitable way for us to move forward. People that are getting the biggest burden of that will be the people that are most affected by poverty and other disadvantages. And I say all of this, and I'm reminded that in South County, we do have a road user charge with the 125 toll. And so I really hope to hear this passion when, if and when this comes back to this board for us to be able to eliminate that road user charge in Chula Vista and in our southern part of the county. Thank you.
Councilmember Duncan.
Yeah, I appreciate all the comments of the other board members. but for what's in front of us right now is a substitute motion. And what the substitute motion says to me, and anybody can correct me if if they have a different opinion, it simply acknowledges before we say what the substitute motion says, the board's voted not to have a road user charge in the 2021 regional plan. So now we have a substitute motion that says basically to me just two things. Instruct the staff to bring us a 2025 regional plan that doesn't have a road user charge in it, and then adds that the opinion of the current board, which obviously is also the opinion of the public, is that we don't want road user charge in future regional plans. And I think there's nothing illegal about saying that. I read Mr. Kirk's communications. I listened to council's comments today. We can say that is the current position of the board. Obviously, we cannot, as some people may want, restrict future boards from making a different decision, but simply those simple comments and the parts of the substitute motion to me are very straightforward. It's what I believe the majority of the board wants and what the public wants, and I support it. And I think we should vote on it.
Thank you. Councilmember Moreno.
Sorry, Chair. That was
Okay,
me
so I'm
buzzing in.
confused. San Diego A is you and San Diego B is you.
When
So who's San Diego
if
A?
I'm not
Can
here,
somebody
she's-
clarify that for me? Because I keep. My understanding was San Diego A is, I'm sorry? Okay, all right, sir.
Thank you, Chair.
San Diego, I keep wanting you to talk, Councilmember Moreno, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Councilmember Campillo.
Thank you, Chair. Can we see the text of the substitute motion? It was quite
Not
lengthy.
advice, the procedure.
Just want to know the various parameters of it. I mean, I heard it, but it was.
Can you repeat your question, please?
Can we see on the screens what the verbiage of the substitute motion is so that we have a full sense of all the ramifications?
Yep, behind you right now. And they're gonna put it up there too. Any other?
I have one question as
Okay,
soon
go
as I
ahead.
read through it. Thank you, Chair. My first question for the maker of the alternative motion is in the last sentence, further directing both staff and all board not to pursue or support any legislation that supports a regional RUC or implementation. You mean in their capacity as members of SANDAG or in their own individual capacities?
I think if you're going to support the motion, that's the decision you're going to make. For me, in both capacities. So if I support this motion, I clearly don't support pursuing a road user charge.
Well, I'm not sure how it's legally enforceable that we would direct any individual in their own capacity for their own city, for their own jurisdiction to tell them they can't do it, while also supporting the idea that we need to look at all funding structures other than a road user charge. So I would ask if council, if that's even legally enforceable. The second thing I would ask is, and this comes back from Mayor Jones's original draft of the motion, when you say direct staff to bring a concept for the 2025 plan, is that, do you mean to say a draft? I'm a little confused as to what sort of conceptualization you're asking staff to do.
Can I answer the first part of your question? Then?
Certainly, however you wish.
The first part.
Oh, that was provided by legal counsel,
Understood.
SANDAG legal counsel. So I didn't come up with that language. My language was quite different than that.
Perfectly
I
good.
went
Okay.
ahead with it only because that's what they wrote for me. But that's not what I really wanted the
I'll go with the
language to
standard
be.
definition of concept then. All right.
I wanted it to be remove the road user charge moving forward.
Okay.
So I chose those words carefully, and while it may not be legally binding, my point is to bring clarity today about what we all believe, because that's what I've heard the last since I've been on the board. We don't support it. We want to take it out. And this just clarifies to the public and to the board, those board members that support taking out the road user charge, not having it, and we can move forward, be a productive board, and go forward and make some good transportation decisions for the region. I don't want to keep having this conversation. I hope this brings clarity, and this is the end of it.
Yes. So
I mean, I think in the end, you can do whatever you want as a board member. That's your prerogative. I think it happens often in boards where you have people taking positions, you know, and you move forward and you do what's best for your constituents. And so.
Understood. I think that it's a bit too far for me to go and tell Councilmember Shu that, you know, he's directed to not pursue something he truly believes in. It might be in the best interest of his constituents. And I think that it's really, we really ought not draft motions that aren't legally enforceable. And I appreciate where you're going with that. If we wanted to direct staff, then that's something the board can do, but other board members in their own jurisdictions, that's impermissible. But I would ask, is Mayor Jones in favor of the?
Mayor Jones, this would be, the substitute motion was made by the council member.
Further understood. So, well, Mayor Jones being the original drafter of the motion that was provided by you, Chair, I'm interested to know, given that there's essentially two alternatives here, if Mayor Jones is in support of this substitute motion or of the original motion made by the chair, which was her draft provided originally, because I'm inclined to support the chair's motion and not the alternative motion, but I am interested to hear what she has to say.
Are we all being polled as to how we're voting ahead of the vote? I've never had that happen before.
No, it's not happening.
You're the original drafter of the original motion?
This isn't my motion. This is not my motion. This is a substitute.
No, but you second this motion, right?
I didn't second this substitute motion.
So for clarifications, is your question whether or not we should add SANDAG on here or?
No, there is not. What the question I'm asking is the original drafter of the original motion going to support an alternative to her own or to support her original draft? That's respectfully.
Yeah, I don't know that that's an appropriate question since we have a substitute motion that's the one we're discussing now, unless legal counsel tells me different. If it can happen, go ahead. I mean, you tell us.
I would say that's in the discretion of the motion maker of the original motion, whether they would be inclined, even though it's somewhat theoretical.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead, Mayor Jones.
So I actually had my hand raised for something else. And the something else that I wanted to bring up was page 5 of my presentation, being that this was my agenda item. And that was sorry, it's not that one. The next one, I think it is. There it is. Regional road user charge. We're not talking about the federal. We're not talking about the state. Doesn't say anything about transit, or it doesn't say anything about highways, operations, capital, or local streets and roads. The only two allowable uses that we voted on December 10th was for the transit capital and for the active transportation. Even though many of the board members continue even today saying that it's something different, that's what it can be used for today as approved by the state of California. And yes, I will support the alternate or the substitute motion today because it's on the floor, and I will be supporting it.
Yeah, and so just to clarify,
is everyone else going to do are we going to poll everyone? I'm just curious.
Okay, well,
Mayor, it's your item. So I'm curious to know if you're as the person who's desiring to do that.
Good.
So it's
I'm
not out of disrespect. I'm just curious to know what you're thinking.
Just to clarify, the item was brought forth through the executive committee and Mayor Jones requested the item. We have a substitute motion before us. So for those that are talking about the federal and state, my comment regarding that item specifically was because I was trying to get clarification from council as it relates to future boards. That was my connection to federal and state. So maybe folks didn't understand what I was asking. So I just want to make sure that I clarify that. So with that, the next person on the agenda is a council member, Burkholder, who's online.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I appreciated all of the discussion on this item. As the representative from Carlsbad, I've been very much against the REC from the beginning, and I reflect on Tyler's comments stating that his wife drives to Sorrento Valley every day, proving that this is a regressive tax on our drivers and also disproportionately affects Carlsbad drivers. So I definitely will be supporting the substitute motion. Thanks.
Okay. I have a couple of folks who are on the list. If you already spoke, I'm going to ask the folks who have not spoken yet, and then I'm going to come back to you, okay? So I have Councilmember Contreras.
Thank you. Yeah, I just have a clarifying question. I mean, the goal of the 2025 regional plan is for it to actually fit within the parameters that allow us to receive certain funding. And one of the big funding sources that all of our local jurisdictions really rely on is SB1 funding, which is funded by the gas tax. However, if the 2025 regional plan does not fit within certain parameters, does that make it so that we effectively cannot get SB1 funding? I don't know who can answer that question.
So a region has to have an approved regional transportation plan to qualify for state and federal funding. If you do not have an approved plan, you cannot get federal or state funding. So the goal of the plan is, of course, you want to have a plan, you want to have a vision, but you want to meet the requirements so you can qualify to receive federal and state funding. Right now, we have an adopted plan that was accepted by the state and federal government. This plan has been updated to remove the road user charge, and we hope it still meets the federal and state requirements.
Thank you. I appreciate that clarification. You know, all of our cities really rely heavily on SB1 funds. I know that in the chart, Mayor Jones, that you provided, it's stipulating that a road user charge would not be funding highway. But I just want to remind the board that it is critical that we meet state mandates. I know everybody hates a mandate. I've seen the issues with not following the housing mandates from some of our cities that haven't been able to build the necessary amount of housing, and there's a builder's remedy. Just keep in mind that if this board doesn't look at serious alternatives and actually ask Caltrans and the state to bring forward education on what kind of alternatives can have more equitable framework than the gas tax. Like, I wish that people would get heated about that because you are on a slippery slope of getting this close to not being able to receive SB1 funding. And you think people are upset now? They're going to be really upset when we cannot fix our roads at all. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knows that that is a situation that this board is moving closer and closer and closer to not being eligible for SB1 funds and state and federal matching dollars, which we absolutely need if this agency is going to leverage the little bit of funds that it has to be able to build a multimodal transportation so that folks that need to use their car can use their car, and folks that have different alternatives, whether they want to bike, walk safely, or take public transit and have it more frequent, that we create a future that allows for real freedom of mobility. So just keep that in mind when you're having your arguments and discussions, that we are very close to not being able to access gas tax, which would really disenfranchise a lot of our voters, you know, that are going to have this tax on them and can't even get any of that funding to help our transportation system. Thank you.
Thank you. And just for clarification, Councilmember Duncan and Councilmember Cardenas, did you press to speak again?
Yes.
No? Okay. All right. I just want to double check because I want to make sure that things are correct. Okay. Supervisor Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know what? I want to thank everybody for their input. Today, I learned more about this issue than I've ever learned before. And I just want to point out, thank you to our colleague from Imperial Beach, because that was the only alternative I've ever heard at this meeting to the RUC, and that is a kilowatt tax. You know, we're talking about we can only do it one way, and what we're really asking for is let's really explore everything on the table. And just like there's miles per gallon, there's miles per kilowatt. And before I bought my wife's electric car, I put a lot of research into it. And a good rule of thumb is 4 miles per kilowatt. If you're using lightning fast mode, maybe it's only 2 miles per kilowatt. But I think it's important for people to understand
You're on it again.
we all want equity for our communities. We want to be fair to everybody. And I'm going to speak in generalities, and this is just my opinion, but it seems like the people that need our help most are either renting in the cities or they're owning in the rural communities. And when we put egregious taxes on folks who have to commute for their job, whether they work in the trades, whether they're a maid, or if they're in the service industry, and they chose to create generational wealth by moving far from the city where they could afford generational wealth. And we're punishing them and we're forcing equity in renters downtown in your cities. Is that fair? Is that really equitable? And one of the simple potential solutions, thank you, is why not equally tax kilowatts for those that have electric cars? Instead of revamping a whole system where the poorest members of our society, we know they're not going to remove the gas tax. This is not going to be in lieu of, this is going to be addition to. And I served 12 years in the legislature. I know. I sat next to my colleagues and looked, and when their lips were moving, they weren't telling the truth. They had the best of spirits. They wanted to do it. But, in 2009, I voted on a state budget that was $86 billion. Today, it's over $300 billion. We have the best roads. We have the best colleges. Everything's paid for. No, none of it's been done. So the notion that we're going to lose the gas tax and gain this is not going to happen. But we can be equitable for those communities that need our help. We can lift those people, and we can look at other solutions. And, we set a lofty goal in the previous item, and we said, well, we'll never get there if we don't have that lofty goal. What we're asking for in this substitute motion is that lofty goal. And yeah, I feel a little bit like a hypocrite in the sense that I poo-pooed lofty goals, and why not make it noon today instead of, 5 years earlier. But this, I believe, is a goal worth shooting for, because for the first time in the 2 years I've been on this board, I heard an alternate solution that is workable, that's doable, that makes potentially good sense. And yes, I don't like new taxes. However, that is an equitable approach without double punishing those in our community who need our help and support, that are requiring and asking for us to lift them. And most of the people in my district are not going to buy an electric car. And by the way, I represent the second poorest district. I'm sorry, Nora, she has the poorest. But these issues matter a great deal to me. So I'm going to be supporting it, and I'm going to ask you all to consider the generational wealth that you're going to deny people because they won't be able to afford to drive, because living in a more rural community where housing is affordable will no longer be an option to the poor in our inner city. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Molina.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I understand that the 2021 plan is currently undergoing evaluation upon its amendment to remove the RUC, and the decision whether that is an approvable plan or not is yet pending. Is that correct? And so
You need clarification, because can you make sure you explain what it actually does? Because that may sound confusing. So,
So the board, go ahead, Keith.
Good morning, Board. Keith Greer.
And just to be clear, the item before us is for the regional plan for 2025, and then the substitute motion includes future plans as a broad issue is the discussion that we're having now.
Correct. Keith Greer, Regional Planning Manager here. The question was, what's the current status of the amendment?
yes,
The current status is on October 27th, we'll be bringing the amendment to you and the supplemental environmental impact report for your consideration. If you approve that, then it will go on to the state and the federal government for their approval.
that's for the 21 plan.
2021. So I think that's why I want to make sure it's really important because there's a process already in place for the 2021 plan. And actually Mayor Jones kind of went through it.
I'd call for the question because I mean, we're back to the beginning.
That's fine. That's fine. But there's a couple of folks who haven't had a chance to speak. So I want to give them an opportunity as I give you opportunities to speak on a lot of other issues. So I want to make sure, I think what the reason why I'm asking you to clarify it is because even though the item is 2025, I want to make sure that the vice mayor and the public who is listening is clear on what we're doing right now. We've already said what the 2021 is, but can you just rephrase it again?
Okay, so
restate it again. I apologize.
Certainly. The amendment to remove the original road user charge from the 21 plan will come to this board on October 27th. So that's the action to eliminate it from the current plan that's adopted. The action in front of you is related to the future plans, the 25 plans and future plans.
Okay, so the action on the board right now, which speaks to the 25 plans and everything in the future, is the alternative or the substitute motion. So let's, if I may go back to the original motion for this item, was not including the 25 plan in future. It was only about the 21 plan.
No,
25. Okay, thank you.
Okay, second vice chair.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I think it's important just to because of our board members are somewhat a little bit confused. I personally thought it was pretty clear over the past like almost year that the board was in agreement that the road user charge was out of the 2021 plan. And it was pretty clear when especially our chair was on KUSI and said she had no interest in supporting putting the road user charge in the 2025 plan. We then had the workshop where we were looking at the 2025 plan on financial options. How do we pay for this? Because one of our mandates is when we do a regional transportation plan, whether it's the original one or then the update, original one, 2021 here, update 2025, is we have to put forth a number of possible and feasible funding sources. The road user charge was one of many, and the road user charge in the plan said that it would not come into effect until 2030, and this board cannot unilaterally impose that on the public. A road user charge would then have to go to a vote of the people. So, but we made it clear in the 2021 by adding an amendment last December and sending that then to go through environmental review. The environmental review process is ongoing. It's coming back, as Keith said, October 27th to the board, and then it's going to go off to the state. So it's like on a little journey. It's saying it's going to go, to this place, which is removing it. It's clearly on the journey. So in my mind, it's been pretty clear that it's out of the 2021. And in my mind, it's been pretty clear it's out of the 2025 because of the number of actions and words that the board has said. In that workshop, when we were talking about possible funding sources, nobody said, oh, let's put in the road user charge. Maybe my friendly colleague from La Mesa might have said that, but he might not have, no matter even if he pulls a weighted vote, it's unlikely that he'll get a second on that. So if this is what it takes, if this motion is what it takes to make it clear to the board and to make it clear to the public, and it does not get us in legal jeopardy because it just says we're directing staff to bring a concept for the 2025 plan and all future plans without the RUC. I will be supportive of this, but I'd like to put this to bed because, I'm not in favor of the road user charge as we've currently at all, because it does disadvantage those of us who are in disadvantaged communities who live further out, who have to bring their tools to work, et cetera. So there has to be something else. Of course, what Councilmember Fisher said was a fabulous idea. There's lots of ideas that we can look at to fund the 2025 and future plans that do not include the road user charge. So because of that, I will be supporting the substitute motion just to make it clear to everybody, and we could put this to bed and get working on the stuff that we need to work on in this board.
Okay, and so I have 3 more folks who are speaking. And so I ask that you keep your comments as short as you can so that we can move on. Councilmember Gasolin.
Thank you. I wanted to bring Del Mar's perspective to the table.
When we were voting on the RTP 2021, we had quite the council discussion about road use charge and acknowledged unanimously that we were opposed to the road use charge as a way to fund the RTP. But we voted yes on the 2021 RTP because there were elements in it that we absolutely needed and did support. Many of the decisions that come to us have elements that we do support and elements that we don't, and we have to really think about how to balance that. I want to make it clear that the SANDAG board, the SANDAG staff have no ability to impose a road use charge. So that brings me to the question, if it needs to be on a ballot and voted by the voters with 2/3 vote to pass, if it's brought to the ballot by this board, then it seems somewhat, and I'm going to use a tough word, but somewhat irresponsible, if not irresponsible, then risky to rely on a road use charge to fund either the 2021 RTP or the 2025 RTP. And for me, as a scientist, data science person, one of the most important points is that the connection between a road use charge and reducing greenhouse gas is an assumption. It's an input into a data model that then crunches and said, this is how much greenhouse gas goes down. We don't really know that. It's theory right now. It might well be true, but it also may not be true. So that again puts some risk into relying on a road use charge. So I bring these points forward because there are many reasons: equity, risk, and ability, as I've laid forward, to support this substitute motion, to vote yes on this, make a firm, clear statement as a board, and perhaps for, as before, we can all come together and vote yes and have this be a unanimous vote. Thank you.
Councilmember Moreno.
I don't get a vote unless it's a weighted vote, but I just wanted to go on the record that I would be in support of this motion.
Thank you. Councilmember Duncan.
Thank you. Again, I think the substitute motion is good policy, well-founded. It's good for the public. It's good for SANDAG, and we should pass it. And however, the reason I'm speaking is I do think that Councilmember Campillo's comments are 100% accurate and dead on. And I don't think it waters down the item whatsoever. And I would request the maker of the motion, Ryan, I would request that you consider, because it does not water down or change the motion whatsoever, but does make it actually legally appropriate, where you say further directing both staff and all board not to pursue or support. I would just add in the words and all board in their capacity as an employee or representative of SANDAG. And that way you don't impinge on anybody's free speech in their private life and potentially have a lawsuit. Again, in their capacity as an employee or representative of SANDAG, which is, I think, what we want.
Okay. All right, Councilmember Chu, and you are the last speaker before the vote.
Thank you. I'm going to continue to not support this motion, particularly towards the end, even with that language, because it implies that staff cannot provide accurate information to our members. So Councilman Duncan knows that recently I asked information about the road use tax from the American Tax Foundation from other credible transportation planners and studies showing that a road use tax based on mileage is more equitable than the current gas tax, including now additional information from the San Diego Taxpayers Association. So I'm really disturbed by our board members continuing to say that the road use tax is regressive. It is a lot less regressive than what we have now. If you want poor people to pay less by proportion, then we need to something based other than by gas tax. Because right now, electric car drivers pay $100 in registration, and that's their contribution, when others are paying $700, $800, $900 more. And lastly, it's not just about paying some part of the cost of road maintenance and development. It's using a system to manage transportation and traffic. congestion relief pricing. Congestion relief pricing will help us move more people through our system with less congestion by having some variation in how much they pay as they go through congested areas. These are tools that transportation planners have been using and are using in other parts of the world. Those are the things we're taking off the table. So if you want more congestion, if you want poor people to pay more, that's the direction you're going right now. So what I'm worried about is this motion sticking your head in the sand even further by precluding the staff and people like me on a committee to provide accurate and better information as to what this is all about. So I'm very much against this. It stifles our ability to put truth to you as board members. And as long as we continue that, we're destined to more congestion and more pollution and poor people paying more.
Melendez is the last person on the queue, and then we're going to take a vote.
Thank you, Chair. And I do hear my colleagues, shifting and grumbling, and so I imagine that we don't have much of an appetite for too many more comments. But I do have to fulfill my obligation to represent the City of Vista and make brief comments. In this discussion, we are eliminating an opportunity to utilize a particular tool to finance our 2025 regional plan. And I think that it is very appropriate to look at alternatives. But in doing so, we have to show good faith that we will genuinely look at alternatives to funding our transportation systems. I appreciate Member Fisher with bringing forward something tangible in terms of an example. And in preparation for this conversation, it really forced me to consider, how did our roadway systems become the way that they are, our transportation systems, how did they become the way that they are historically, and how were they funded historically? And some of the information did surprise me, and I think it can enlighten us and inspire us as we move forward in good faith, genuinely looking at alternatives for how we're going to fund our transportation system. I think a caveat for me would be that our roadways need to be accessible and available to be used by all people. We have developed a culture and a community where we are hyper dependent on our vehicles. I speak to neighbors every single week, and there is a resonance in our communities where people are rejecting their dependency on their vehicle. People shouldn't have to get in their car to cross the street, but that is the type of communities that we have created. And when I look at the history of how we got here, there were innovations in vehicle technology that allowed for cars to be more accessible to the working person. But it was really the civil rights movement and the development of the suburbs post-World War II that created this increased demand for highway systems. And when President Eisenhower was due to sign the Federal Aid Highway Act in 1956, I was surprised to learn that the head of the subcommittee that had the purpose of developing the system, General Lucius Clay, he proposed a toll system for the highway system that was not received by President Eisenhower. He did not think that that would work unless it was in coastal communities. And in addition to that toll proposal being denied, Congress opposed the highway system being paid for by public bonds. And that is how we ultimately got to the negotiation of using the gas tax to fund our highway systems. Now we know that it is not sustainable, not only our history and use of fossil fuels, but I'm not sure if you're aware, we are using more energy now than ever. We're not using less fossil fuels, we're using more. And we're also using more renewable energy. So it is not sustainable for us to continue on in the transportation modalities and the way that we've built our communities that is rooted in historical inequity and segregation as we have up until this point. So I am urging our board to genuinely look at alternatives. We need to fund public transportation. We need to fund active transportation because our communities, at least the people that I speak to, they want those alternatives. And if we can be creative and be open, we can find alternatives. So I think it is appropriate to move forward without including a road use charge or a vehicle miles travel tax, because I believe there are alternatives out there, and many decision makers and bodies before us have had to wrestle with how are we going to fund our roads, and it's not going to end today. So as we move forward, I make a commitment to not only work with our professional staff, but be studious in my own research to identify alternatives that could be appropriate in our region. And I hope everyone else joins me and we can come together as a creative board and develop something that works for our community.
Thank you. So we have a motion, we have a change.
Can I get clarification on the original motion versus the substitute motion? Did the original motion essentially say the same thing as the first sentence in the substitute motion?
Pretty much.
And the substitute motion only included that gag order at the end?
I don't know if I call it a gag order, but okay.
Right. Okay, thanks.
All right. So there's a motion before you. Please vote.
City of Carlsbad, Councilmember Burkholder.
Carlsbad, yes.
City of Chula Vista, Councilmember Cardenas.
Aye.
City of Coronado, Councilmember Duncan.
Aye.
County of San Diego, Chairwoman Vargas.
Vargas, yes.
City of Del Mar, Councilmember Gastrolin.
Yes.
City of El Cajon, Mayor Wells.
Yes.
City of Encinitas, Mayor Kranz.
No.
City of Escondido, Councilmember Marasco.
Aye.
City of Imperial Beach, Councilmember Fisher.
Imperial Beach, yes.
City of La Mesa, Councilmember Shu.
No.
City of Lemon Grove, Mayor Pro Tem Gastil.
No.
City of National City, Vice Mayor Molina.
No.
City of Oceanside, Deputy Mayor Keim. City of Poway, Councilmember Frank.
Yes.
City of San Diego, Councilmember Campillo.
Yes.
City of San Marcos, Mayor Jones. City of Santee, Councilmember McNellis.
Aye.
City of Solana Beach, Second Vice Chair Hebner.
Yes.
And City of Vista, Councilmember Melendez.
Yes.
And that motion passes with 15 yeses and 4 nos.
All right, the next item on our agenda is item number 10. We have the next in our series of 2025 regional plan discussions. Today, we will hear about how staff are developing cost estimates for the 2025 regional plan. This is where you all get to be creative, including expected trends for construction and project costs. I'll hand it over to Ray to kick off this item. Please go ahead, Ray.
Thank you, Chairwoman Vargas. Every 4 years, we have to update the cost and the revenues in our regional plan. And in the last 3 plans, that was pretty easy as we went through decades of about 2% inflation. But with the current inflation being what it is and having some records of 35-year highs, we really needed to look at different ways of doing cost estimates. And so when we do this presentation, Daniel Coachman will be talking to you about the fact that we're using 2 different methodologies for estimating cost. One is for those large capital projects that require things like concrete, steel, plywood, et cetera. Those were all impacted by supply chain interruptions over the last couple of years. And then there is the consumer price increases that we've seen also from inflation in general. And there are some other items that are more impacted by that. So as she speaks about this, you'll be looking at 2 different methodologies. These 2 different methodologies have been used at SANDAG for different projects, depending upon which ones we are looking at. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Danielle to do the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Good morning, members of the board. So we're continuing our series of regional plan workshops and presentations by discussing the methodology for developing cost estimates for the regional plan. We're not going to be talking about specific project costs. We will be bringing in a few months to you an initial network and concept, And then we can use this methodology that we discussed today to turn that network into specific project costs. So there's two things that I want you to take away from our discussion today. First is that we heard the board's concern around how we develop cost estimates for our regional plan during the development of the 21 plan. In our ongoing pursuit of accuracy, we did a very thorough review of all of the methodologies that we use for the different projects to develop cost estimates, and we're proposing a few improvements today over how we did it last time. The second thing is that recent inflation has dramatically affected project costs, and this will have an impact on what we can build as part of the 25 plan. With less revenues and higher costs, the network will be more constrained, and we may have to make some tough decisions around what we can include. I want to remind you of the federal requirements that we've spoken about in previous presentations as well. Federal law requires that our plan is revenue constrained. So we talked about in July how we develop revenue estimates for the regional plan. To demonstrate that our plan is constrained, we need to develop cost estimates for every single policy, service, project, and program that we include in our plan, and then compare those to the expected revenues to make sure that it is sufficient to fund all of those projects and programs. We also must use a reasonable and documented process to estimate costs. And with the requirement to update the plan every 4 years, we want to reflect the latest trends. As I mentioned, we're proposing some improvements, and that includes moving away from a uniform approach for how we develop cost estimates. So we're going to select the best possible approach for each individual project. And the reason why we would have different approaches is because we have different levels of information available for the projects. So as projects move through the project development process, we gain more information and cost estimates become more accurate. And so looking at something like the I-15 SR78 project, that is currently under environmental review. So while that process is underway, the project engineers have developed cost estimates that are specific to this corridor and connector. And so we are able to leverage that work, inflate those cost estimates into 2024 dollars, and use that estimate, which has, specific details about the project. There are many projects in the regional plan that work isn't underway yet, projects that haven't begun planning or any phase of project development. So these won't have any specific costs that have been developed by engineers at this point. And so for these projects, we're able to use tools from our partner agencies to build a bottoms-up cost estimate. On the left, you can see the Caltrans 11-page estimate tool. It is the standard for developing cost estimates for freeway projects in the state. And Caltrans and SANDAG will use this tool to estimate the costs for projects that are not underway. On the right, you can see Federal Transit Administration's capital cost database. And this is a access database that uses recently built projects and considers regional variation. So how much does it cost in Southern California to build recent transit projects, and looks at all the different components, like how many stations, is there fixed guideway? And finally, if we don't have a tool that we can use to create a bottoms-up approach, we will look at the average of recently built projects that are similar in nature and scope. As Ray mentioned, the second proposed change is how we apply inflation to bring costs into 2024 dollars. You can see that the lines on this graph are not trending together. They historically haven't, and particularly have not in the last 4 years. And they are not forecasted to do so next year. And so the green is the Engineering News Record Construction Cost Index, Los Angeles. So that looks at how much it costs to build construction projects. It considers steel, lumber, concrete, and labor as part of that. And so this is most appropriate for inflating costs into 2024 dollars for capital projects that have a large construction component. The purple line is the Consumer Price Index. So this considers a lot more variety of factors in the index. It looks at things like gasoline, labor, services, trade, tires, and communications equipment. And so this is the factor that we're proposing to use for non-construction projects, things like NextOS, transit services, and like many of the policies and programs that are included in the plan. a quick explanation of why these are not trending together. The construction costs are really driven, the inflation that you see is really driven by supply chain issues. And so as those were addressed, you began to see that line stabilize. On the other hand, consumer price indexes, in addition to supply chain, can also be driven by consumer spending and demand for consumer goods. So economic stimulus is continuing to promote consumer spending. And so we aren't expecting the consumer price index to stabilize as quickly. So this is just an example of how we apply the indices. On the left, you can see a construction project for technology, transportation, and operational improvements on I-5. Since it's a construction project, we propose using the construction cost index to inflate. And that brings us from $888 million in 2020 to $1.04 billion in 2024 dollars. On the right, you see the Transportation Demand Management Program. Over the life of our last regional plan, it was estimated to cost $548 million. This, includes services like van pools, so things like gas and tires and how much a vehicle costs, those things matter. So the consumer price index is more appropriate to escalate those costs. And you can see it going from $548 million in 2020 dollars to $710 million for 2024. So this slide really shows, that regardless of which index we use, there's a huge impact on inflation over the last 4 years on the costs of our projects. This concludes my report. We will be bringing the concept and network development item to you later this fall. And then once that is finalized, we can apply the methodology that we discussed today to develop the cost estimates for the individual projects and for the plan as a whole. And with that, I welcome any comments or questions.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and open up public comments and then member comments. Okay. Thank you for that presentation.
Thank you. Our first public commenter on item 10. Mark, please come to the podium. Your time expired. Our next commenter, Truth, please come to the podium and you will be followed by Consuelo. Thank you.
Costly catering of pesticide-ridden, artificial color and preservative, genetically modified junk soda and chips you guys eat. It's very unhealthy, so you should all be incentivized to eat right by having to bring your own food. Now that would be fiscally constrained. Overall, it seems I have 40 seconds and that doesn't make sense. That's okay. So I'm going to say this is the most financially vague item I've ever read. And you guys should think about the fact that this cost benefit analysis, you know what it is for tyranny? Not worth it. That's why you should not pass this. I needed a lot more details, even in that presentation. Sorry to tell you. You said millions and millions. I saw it was about 700 and something million, I think, for transportation demand management, which is more tracking. You're going to control the roads, however you're using them. We're going to change that demand. Controlling the market, government doing that. You know what that is? That's totalitarian government is what it is. And the other one was millions for more tracking, pretty sure.
Your time expired. Consuelo, please come to the podium. You'll be followed by Mike.
If you doubt the power of our voices, just look at what they do to try to silence us. With that being said, SANDAG will never have the answers or solve our county's issues/problems. Yet they continue to mislead the people with all their political theater shenanigans happening here in chambers today. It is up to each and every one of us to pay attention, to be responsible for ourselves and each other. Don't like hearing that? Too bad. We all have allowed things. We have allowed things in our beautiful county and on this gorgeously abundant planet to get so bad by allowing government to be at the wheel for everything. People have forgotten their own power. This local government does not want their constituents self-reliant or critically thinking. They thrive from and off of our division, ignorance, and dependency. I will say it again, get involved, pay attention, it's getting bad. Speak up, although they try to constantly shut us up, your voice does matter.
Our next public speaker, Mike, will be followed by the first virtual speaker, Alan C. Mike, please come to the podium.
Sorry. We want to talk about equitable solutions. I'm an Encinitas resident, Tony. My sister is a San Marcos resident, Miss Jones. My sister married a Mexican, born in Tijuana. They reside in San Marcos. My sister has 2 children. My sister's skin color matches mine, minus the tattoos, right? My kid, right, is a mixed kid, right? I married a Japanese woman. My kids don't even look like me, right? And here we want to talk about an equitable solution. And you guys have this weighted vote system that's allowed to advantage
Your time expired.
certain portions of this community. And
Mike,
I
your
think it's
time
wrong.
has expired. Our next speaker, Alan
Thank you,
C.
sir.
Virtual.
Thank you.
Mike.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our next
And
public
just-
speaker is Alan C.
Madam
Virtual,
Clerk,
who will
just
be
a minute-
followed by
just a
Blair
minute, Madam
Beekman.
Clerk. So just a reminder to speakers, we are on item, on this particular item number, what is it, 11 now? 10, I'm sorry, item number 10, apologize. And so I want to make sure that we stick to the item that we have before us. There's opportunity to always speak on items not on the agenda at the beginning of the meeting. So just for future comments. All right, go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you, Chairwoman. And this item is on the cost methodology of the regional plan. Alan, please go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I was with the other guy speaking, wasn't sure. Yeah, concerning cost, let me share with a couple costs that you can save on, but I doubt if you will. Transnet, we voted for expansion of the roads, and yet you're putting in managed lanes, which adds more cost per lane because it requires concrete barriers on these managed lanes. You want to save some money and open up more lanes, take away them concrete barriers, you actually have 2 lanes instead of the 1. Another cost savings. Right now you're doing these workshops throughout the community. You're using our tax to campaign for more tax. Yes, next year's MTS tax is proposed on the ballot. Why are you using our tax to campaign for more tax? People, the board takes charge because that seems to me illegal. And lastly, to council, why is all the agenda items pulled? The public is not allowed to comment after they discuss it. You're breaking the Brown Act. I yield back.
Our next speaker, Blair Beekman, will be followed by the original draw. Blair, please go ahead.
Hi, Blair Beekman. Yeah, when to take public comment, always an interesting discussion. For this item, just first, thank you very much. I'm for freeways, not tollways. I'm not for surveillance at all. A really interesting discussion on the previous item. Thank you. For this item, as regional issues, I hope this can be a part of regional issues, is talking the future about planning of car transportation use and individual ride sharing programs. To me, that's a real important concept for the future. It was mentioned AV vehicles a few meetings back, the use of them for ride sharing programs. I hope I'm not so much for AV things. Why not be considering, Uber type services and such? And with that, I guess my feelings, my feelings about many buses around on a route. It creates a sense of speed. Having many buses within an hour does a lot more for speed and efficiency. It's a good program. Please be considering for budgeting things. Thank you.
Our next speaker, the original draw, will be followed by our final speaker on this item, Catherine Rhodes. The original draw, please go ahead.
This is absolute fraud, waste, and abuse. You guys are telling people fraudulent information to make them believe that the climate is something that we need to and can save. And you're wasting the people's money and you're abusing them by, doing all of these things because you're not telling them the truth. None of this is based on facts. You know that the air quality is not what you claim. You know that the fossil fuels aren't really fossil fuels. And if you don't, then you guys need to educate yourselves, because what you are doing is having us pay for our own enslavement. This has nothing to do with the climate. If it did, then you wouldn't be listening to globalists who don't even live here telling us what's best for us and in lockstep putting their plan into place. And it has nothing to do with saving anybody. In fact, it's to eradicate a lot of people and make sure that we're in 15-minute cities, that many of you who sit there and pretend like you're not for certain things are for those. And we're engaging and putting people in it. And that's complete fraud, waste, and abuse.
Your time expired. Our final public speaker on this item, Catherine Rhodes, please go ahead.
Hello, this is Catherine Rhodes. And we have a beautiful world-class airport. And the reason for that is because the Airport Authority and SANDAG is allowing the Airport Authority to hoard our cash that is meant for regional transportation, not just for airport staff and all the luxuries that we have at the airport. By law, we are one of 12 grandfathered airports. SANDAG back in, I think, 2018, wrote a legal opinion saying that we weren't when we really are. And no, not one of you has ever challenged that. None of you have ever challenged that that we can use airport revenue outside of the airport, or talked about why have we not received 1 penny of the 300 million that was promised to us back in 2019. So far, $0. And so please, somebody, that's elected, can somebody bring it up so I don't have to bring it up? It's been 4 years, and so far we had $0. And we could actually get billions of dollars.
Your time expired. That concludes the public comments at this time.
Thank you. Mayor Jones.
Thank you so much, Chair. So I just, when we're talking about the regional plan and the cost estimate methodology, also, I wanted to bring up the whole situation with the managed lanes, with current roads that are there today being transformed into toll roads. And I think it was Blair Beekman had brought up that he wanted freeways and not toll roads. And then the example concept, or the example project that is there today, is the 78. And I just wanted to make a mention of this because on the 78 right now we have 6 lanes, and then we actually charged, or we agreed to pay for Transnet, which we'll be paying for until 2048 to install or address the traffic by adding 2 toll roads, HOV lanes. And that's what it actually costs for in Transnet.
But the truth is, in that particular situation, and I was at a Caltrans meeting and they brought this up. Oh, Antoinette was here. I saw her a little bit earlier. Antoinette was there from SANDAG. But during that meeting, what I was told was of the 8 lanes, that 4 of those lanes, so 2 of the current lanes, 1 each way, and then also the new toll roads would be not toll lanes, but actually managed lanes. So they would be restricted in some cases, depending on what the SANDAG Board of Directors decides on that. And it could be that they will be dynamic. So sometimes they would only be used for possibly buses, sometimes only for people, not actual toll roads as we know them today. So I want to make mention of this because I often talk about this. I feel like it's false advertising, what we're talking about. Oh, there's Antoinette. I was looking around and I just didn't see you. I'm so sorry. Anyway, I was thinking, so my apologies. Anyway, so when we're talking about toll roads and HOV lanes and dynamic lanes, I think it's important that when we talk about this, we understand that this is something that we are talking about as funding. I want to say at year of expenditure, oh shoot, no, I don't remember. I want to say it was $40 billion, but I might be wrong on that, that we are going to be gathering or bringing in as far as revenue goes for the conversion of lanes, over 819 miles of them here countywide. I just want to make sure that we're aware of this. And then if we could break it down further, because I know on the funding document, it actually shows it as Transnet lanes. The current translate, it shows it just as Transnet. If we could have that broken down to what those converted lanes would be, if we had a better idea of and a better understanding what those 819 miles are out of that total number. And my apologies, I don't have the number up. I could pull it up on my phone. I pull up everything on my phone, but I'm not sure if we have that, but I think moving forward to know what that number is would be very helpful as we're making decisions to, again, make actually informed decisions. So that's just my 2 cents of actually breaking that down to current Transnet lanes that have been installed in that. And I know that Councilmember Cardenas, my apologies if I said that wrong, she had talked about the 125 that was actually built as a toll lane. So I think the toll lanes that have been built as toll lanes and then what the conversion is for the new lanes, I think would be very helpful. So we understand what exactly it is cost wise and revenue wise we're talking about. I hope that makes sense. Sorry, it was a very convoluted. I was trying to eat and then I realized, oh, it's my turn to speak. So my apologies. Is that clear?
Yes, and just to be clear, Mayor Jones, we're reevaluating the managed lane network for the 2025 plan based on all the feedback that you all have provided, everything that we're hearing from your communities. And I think you're referencing what's in the 2021 regional plan.
Correct, yes. And so I just want to say moving forward that we need to make sure that's clarified. And having it broken down, I think would be extremely helpful for us to know what it is we're talking about when we have that number associated with it. And then where that money's coming from and what roads we're talking about. Thank you.
All right, seeing no additional comments. That's an item for member discussion. Thank you, everyone, for your presentation and your information. Let's see. This is an information item only, right? Okay. All right, next up, we have the next in our series of the next. Everybody come, hold on. I am going to go ahead and the next item is going to be take public comments for the closed session item. Tessa?
These public comments will be on closed session item 11. Truth, please come to the podium and you will be followed by Mark.
Similar to item 10, this is the most criminally vague closed session I've ever seen. There's 8650 Via La Jolla Inc., which is strangely an address in the Villas Mallorca La Jolla Village Townhome Apartments. I found this so-called nonprofit based in Tallahassee, Florida, tax exempt since 1998 and a 501c with 5 employees and a revenue of over $587,000 a year. They're seeking compensation because of construction at their old Best Buy building at La Jolla Village Square for the Mid-Coast Transit Project. The key principal owner is Michael Hull, the owner of Atlas Estate Management and Rancho Santa Fe. Atlas refers to Atlantis, the mythical utopia so many socialists dream of trying and failing to create. Very similar to behavior change or modification. And Hassan, they even have a great quote on their website from Theophrastus. Time is the most valuable thing a man can spend. And I want everyone to remember that the next time someone tries to push the lie, that time wasted on slow public transit doesn't matter. It's the most valuable thing. And I'm going to say false advertising, that's actually SANDAG in a nutshell, besides nothing but a, oh, and we're going to get the money back that we took from you guys, and we don't care what your opinion is about it. Yeah, good luck.
Your time expired. Our next speaker, Mark, who will be followed by Consuelo.
Regarding litigation about the property in La Jolla, I am critiquing your omission of the fact that the people are being made to pay for whatever you guys decide to rent for your Mid-Coast Corridor Transit Project or any of your other globalist projects. And I'm not against having, by the way, a rail system, for instance, like high-speed rail like Japan or something. It's the fact that it's being used to get people out of their cars so they can't do anything else. That's the real point. And while these corporations make a lot of money and keep buying our land with our money and renting it on our dime, they're actually making us pay to have all of our land go into your corporation, which gets back to the Zeitgeist film about, Corporation Nation, the film by Clint Richardson, about the incredible amount of wealth that they have.
Your time expired. Our next speaker, Consuelo, please come to the podium. You will be followed by Mike.
Okay, so I'm just going to use my time to talk about what I want to talk about. And that is to encourage the people of
Okay,
San
so then
Diego
you're going to be
County.
speaking on open
I want to
session, or
encourage
you're
the
going to
people.
speak on the board item, which is a closed session item. Item number 11, conference with legal counsel, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to government code section 54956-9D2, one potential case. Is that what you're speaking to? Okay, fantastic.
So I want to encourage the people of the county to please come, show up, see what these people are doing with our money, our hard-earned money, and the show that happens here. It's pretty sad that out of 3.4 million people in our county, it's the same handful of people that come and speak up. What happens federally is of no concern. Actually, it's what happens in your backyard. So yeah, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, please come to the podium. You will be followed by our first virtual commenter, Alan C.
Yeah, so again, here's my son. His name is Shohei. I named him after the baseball phenom, Shohei Ohtani, because my wife is a person of color and does not benefit from the weighted vote system, racist scheme, the weighted vote system that you guys have adopted. It is completely out of line. It shows zero equity. My Mexican brother-in-law that lives in San Marcos, his vote or representation means absolutely nothing because people here in San Diego and South Bay trump his voice. My wife, she's a person of color in Encinitas. She has her weighted vote taken from her to go to another community. You guys have adopted this racist system and you guys should all be ashamed of
Your
yourselves.
time expired. I want to remind our speakers that you are speaking on the closed session item only at this time. Alan C. will be followed by our final two speakers on closed session, number 415 and the original draw. Alan, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Francesca. Yeah, concern is legal counsel. Yeah, I understand you cannot have an interruption to it, but it's like any other court hearing, the public should be able to observe and listen in. So I strongly push that the board should be doing this. have a video feed, sound feed through the Zoom as well as to the people sitting in the audience that we need to be able to hear everywhere our tax money is being spent. Yes, no interruptions. That's why you have in your separate room. But no, you cannot, you're in transparency. That should be allowed for all people to speak. And council, why is non-agenda pushed after this to censor people? Again, breaking the Brown Act by doing that. It is so wrong. I want to speak also on the way to vote, but I got to wait till after this closed session. How many people get silenced when there's only 3 people left to speak non-agenda? Chair, you could have had us speak at the beginning of the session, 5 in person, 5 by phone, yet you refused to do that because you wanted to silence us. It is wrong, council, and everything gets pulled. The public should be able to comment on it after everybody else talks about it. I'll yield back.
Our next speaker, phone number 415, who will be followed by the final speaker on closed session, the original draw. And I would like to note that the chairwoman has let me know she's going to take the non-agenda public comments that were not called at the beginning of the meeting next. The following 4 people will be called at that time. If you're present virtually, please raise your hand now. Mark Kennedy, Alan C., the original draw, and Thomas McCarter. Phone number 415, please go ahead.
Hello, I think you got me and Alan C. Hello, can you hear me?
415, please go ahead.
Clerk, can you just clarify what we're doing now? Because I think our board members did not hear the last piece. So
Yes,
can you just go ahead.
Just to confirm, I'm taking the final 2 speakers on closed session, item number 11. That is phone number 415 and the original draw. Phone number 415, please go ahead. You are unmuted. Please go ahead. I will go ahead and call on the original draw, and I will try 415 one more time after this. The original draw, please go ahead.
You know, anytime there's litigation, it's just interesting because the money comes from the people when you guys, you know, have to litigate and pay something out. But it all has to do with the fraud, waste, and abuse that you're engaging in with your plan and what you need, you know, everybody to conform and comply with. And, you know, I'm surprised, Nora, that you actually are taking non-agenda next, but good on you. I'm going to give you a gold star for today. But, you know, you guys set yourself up for litigation when you sit here and you're engaging in so much fraud, waste, and abuse, which is everything that you're doing, because none of it is to better the people's lives and make it easier. Instead, you're like de-incentivizing people and or incentivizing them to get them to conform with the way you guys are pushing the new way of living. And you look at it as like a behavioral health issue, and you need to, you know, change behaviors in order to get people to conform. That's very disturbing, and it's not right, and it's against your oath. So you guys need to actually think about that instead of.
Your time expired. I will call on phone number 415 another one more time. Please go ahead.
Yes, Paula Bold, because you listed the webinar ID wrong in the agenda, and I'm calling this by phone. I was denied the opportunity to speak on non-agenda stuff, and I think this is a good time to bring it up. The Del Mar Tunnel Plan. SANDAG wants a tunnel through the Crest Canyon. And from what I heard on the news, they want a 290 feet underground to be planned by 2026 and built by 2035. We can't wait that long while the bluffs are eroding, and also such a deep tunnel would replace eroding bluffs with leaking leaching underground water. So, I mean, it's like out of the frying pan into the fire. Moreover, passengers, if any are...
Your time expired. That concludes the public comments on item 11.
Thank you. So you want to continue?
And I will take the final non-agenda continued public comments. Again, Mark Kennedy, Alan C., the original draw, and Thomas McCarter. If you are present, please raise your hand at this time. Alan C., please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Vargas, allowing us to speak before you go to private session. Concerning the way to vote, a little bit of history. Nathan Fletcher's wife, Lorena Gonzalez, when rep of the 80th, passed legislation through the state that the governor signed a way to vote, but it only applied to San Diego County, not any other county in the state. Fletcher and Gonzalez team now profiting, Gonzalez is now head of multiple unions profiting off these way to vote rulings. Now think about the way to vote based on population. How many city council reps are up there on the board right now, not voted by the entire population? You're breaking the law right there too. Third strike. Mayors, take this through the courts. This is not, way to vote is against the law when you do not have representation by every mayor, because only the mayor of each city is actually voted by the entire population. So Chula Vista is already outweighed. We have my city council is not voted by me. And oh yeah, two, concerning the your carbon, Earth atmosphere, 99% is oxygen, nitrogen. CO2, which is needed for plants, is 0.038% of the atmosphere. Think about that. I yield back.
Our final non-agenda public speaker, the original draw, please go ahead.
Yeah, it's sad you talk about air quality, but you won't even look into the aerosols being sprayed upon us, which are heavy metals. If you guys really tested the air for things, you would find that out and do something about that. But, you know, that doesn't fit into the plan. And it's so interesting that, you know, the San Diego City Council was just having an item on, or it was the Public Safety Committee on lithium batteries. And they know that they are, you know, combustible and that they explode and, you know, that it puts out toxic gases. But instead of doing anything, because we can't stop people from having EVs, right? We still need them to be in these lithium bombs. And so we're just going to educate people about it. And, you know, we don't want to lose $2 more million in trash trucks because people aren't recycling them, right? But we never really acknowledge that it could potentially murder a bunch of people when there is a wet pile up in the, you know, and on the roads, whatever it is. So you guys need to quit playing games, quit lying to the people, and start telling them the truth, because you're risking their lives by pushing this agenda.
And that concludes the non-agenda public comments.
Thank you. I'm going to take the personal privilege, since I'm the chair, just to call out Rosa Olescawa, who's today is her last day on my team, and SANDAG is her last meeting with me. And I just want everybody to know that she's been working on transportation justice issues since she was like, how many? 13 years old. And she was part of the group of folks that brought forth the initiative to ensure that we have no cost transportation for our communities in the county of San Diego. So I'm like emotional. I love you, Rosa. She's moving on to bigger, better things. I still love her. It's okay. All right. I'm sure she'll be here talking in front of us at some point, but I wanted just to acknowledge her and thank her for all the great work and all the great work that she did with staff. With that, yeah, give you a Rosa, yes. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and move to closed session. I'm going to ask everyone who does not need to be here for that to please exit the room, and we'll reconvene after to share any reportable actions.
The board met in closed session on item number 11, and there is no reportable action at this time.
Thank you. With that, this meeting is adjourned and our next meeting is October 13th.